Christopher Robin, what exactly is doing nothing?
Well, I'm told it means going along, listening to all the things.
Christopher Robin?
Okay, you know what? Forget it. Forget it, chat. Forget it. Horrible stuff. Horrible stuff. It's terrible. Terrible morning. I don't know what's going
forget
on.
the whole thing of the intros and everything. Just throw it all in there.
Yeah, forget it. It's not even working anymore. It's not even working. It's just it's not even the internet anymore. It's just this is not working. I don't know, Chad. I don't know. Maybe just go ahead and cancel this whole thing this morning. I don't know. Let's see here. Well, now that I have Shiny and Glib in here, the moment I disappear, probably in the next 5 seconds, I have someone to hold down the fort for another 30 minutes until my internet comes back. What a horrible morning.
It'll be the Shiny and Glib show again.
Yeah, it'll be Shiny and Glib show. I can attend the Shiny and Glib show.
You can invite some people on here and have a war.
I haven't been like awake at all for these things.
No, we had a nice busy schedule going on.
No, I've been getting up really late because my sleep schedule got bad after keeping track. I've just been watching all these late night streams about everything. There's so much news. I can't avoid it.
Yeah, there's a lot of news coming out over and over again. It's about everything, and not all of it is true.
It's one of those things where I have to I look at it and then I have to like look away and just get off the internet or stay in one place for a little while, or I don't know. I've just been trying to stay off the internet for a little bit and just hanging on in Discord. That's all.
Yeah, and YouTube has been pretty interesting. Also,
Missed some behind the scenes yesterday of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and this Sunday we're going to be looking at behind the scenes of The Last Jedi.
Oh, that'll be interesting. I've seen that one. You guys had a pretty full crew. I was listening and watching the stream. I just wasn't able to have a conversation.
Yeah, at least it was like about 5 or 6 people throughout the whole way almost. But hopefully it stays up because the day before yesterday, my stream was taken down because I played a small anime opening of Star Wars. A fan made one.
They probably used actual anime music.
Yeah. YouTube bots swarmed it. I got 3 hits on that thing. 3 copyright claims.
Well, one for the visuals, one for the anime audio. Don't know what the other one would be.
I didn't even read them all. I just I think no, that was yesterday. I think that was yesterday's. It's still blocked. It's still partially blocked. Hardly anyone can see it. Then the time before that was I don't know why it was declared ineligible because they deleted that one after the stream was over. They deleted it. I don't know. Usually they delete it during the stream, but that one deleted it afterward. I appealed it, got it approved, but I don't know. YouTube bots have been taking down every stream so far, so you got to be really careful.
They've been really ridiculous lately. I was looking at Gundam's Twitter, and he got demonetized because somebody in the background, very quietly, there was an Ariana Grande, whatever the coffee is, in the background. So demonetize the whole video because somebody that you're talking to, their, kids' sisters listening to music in the background. That's the new YouTube.
Yeah, just YouTube bots just swarm it. It's because of COVID. It's because of COVID. You don't have any workers. Because the workers definitely can't work from home or anything like that. You can't watch YouTube videos at home. Who does that?
Oh, they love saying that. How it's like, oh, it's a secure system. I'm like, oh, clearly it's secure.
Yeah, it's so secure you can't have people doing anything.
They never had anyone properly reviewing these copyright strikes in the past. It's always just been an automatic thing.
I always just feel like it's one of those dear person people that is on the other end, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna appeal to
Dear
somebody,
people?
but whoever I'm appealing to, yeah, like the Twitch person.
Can you still hear me, by the way?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
I'm good.
fantastic. Okay. This is, I think StreamYards is frozen on me.
No, no.
I'm thinking if it's going to go ahead and cancel today. I don't know.
No, it's fun.
Everything's freezing. There's no internet gas. Everything's just going downhill fast.
That's not fun.
Let's see here. Hex Harper. I can't.
It's gone.
There it is.
Well, now it's the
Yeah.
Shaming Club show.
Of
Maybe
course.
we should have had him, be able to share one of our screens so we could actually go over something.
Oh man. Well, sorry everybody that you don't get to watch the Literature Devil. I think after that he's going to be very like fuck it.
Upset.
Yeah, because
He will bring hellfire upon you.
yeah, that's so odd, man. And it's like
It's almost like someone's been cutting his internet cables from the basement to get from imprisoning me in the basement.
I was trying to figure that out with Southpaw too, and it's too complicated to try and figure all that out. I don't know if he needs to call somebody or something, but this is just.
Well, I mean, if it's like he said it last time, it could be one of his VPNs. I don't know if I don't know if he's maybe fixed that, and if it's still happening, I guess it's I don't know, maybe his provider. You'd ring up his provider and say, "Hey, look, I'm not very happy, but if what I understand with internet providers in America, you only often have one or two, so you don't have many options."
Yeah, exactly. It's that false dichotomy that you can't
if
go
you-
with one or the other. It's the same shit.
If you don't, or at least over here, if you don't like, I don't know, PlusNet, you can always go to Virgin Media or any of the other 100 providers, which are usually in your area.
Now StreamYard.
Oh, apparently his StreamYard stop. It's always, well, it worked for me in the bed yesterday. I don't know why it's not working now. I don't know. Maybe we should take all the party over to my channel.
I have no idea why this is happening. I don't know the
I
intricacies.
don't think anyone knows
of,
why this is happening.
YouTube, but yeah,
We
didn't even get to a
talk
point
about
where I
Last of Us
knew.
2.
We didn't even get to a point where I knew what Literature Devil wanted to talk about today, which is frustrating. Because that was, I was like, man, there's so much stuff to talk about today. What do we have? All of the weird stuff.
Well, now we can talk about what we want to talk about on the
Yes.
Shiny and Glib show.
We have all the internet gas, and he has none. Yeah, well, I was just gonna recap. We got the Last of Us 2 is coming out tonight, right? Or later today, something like that, depending on what it is. We have all that stuff going on in the Chaz, the Chop, or whatever. The Atlanta police apparently walking out. What else? I think what was that manga series that hit over 1 million?
I don't know.
copies
I
sold?
was going to mention the new Star Wars game, which was announced a couple days ago, and there's supposed to be gameplay coming out today.
Okay, I have to. I shouldn't be too critical because I haven't seen the gameplay yet. But the little trailer didn't instill a lot of confidence in me. That was an issue that I had. It looked to be it was hitting all the nostalgia keys, but I'm wondering what the story is going to be, because that in a lot of these EA video games is the weak spot. I don't know how you felt about Battlefront 2 or how chat.
I was
By the
very
way,
upset.
Before we get into that, which is a good idea, I'd love to. I just want to say hello to chat because of my ADD brain. Hello to DJM Voices, obviously, and Best Chat, and Dr. Crow, and everybody that I can see in front of me right now. You are all welcome.
Yeah. Well, I remember the trailer for Battlefront 2, and I was very excited about the prospect of getting it from the Empire's perspective. And I've always liked the idea that the Empire isn't necessarily evil itself. It's just more that it's very authoritarian, and the person that's in charge of it is leading it. And these rationales that these people often have for the Empire, like in The Mandalorian, they say, brings trade, opportunity, justice, and peace, and all these things. And there's actual argument for why maybe why these people believe in the Empire and why maybe the rebellion wasn't such a great thing. And that would have been absolutely brilliant to get the perspective of the Empire in this. Because in the current canon, they're pretty much just bad guys, just straight bad guys. That's it. They're just bad. They're just evil. They're not just people who maybe needed some money, so they joined the army, or maybe people who were brainwashed with the news or whatever.
Now, so I had a similar experience, and what I was curious about is if you felt like, depending on what position you had in the Empire or where you were in the Republic or what your political view within that world was, you probably have a different perspective on the organization. But the thing that I always felt like would have been developed better in a sequel series that we didn't get would have been an explanation as to why people joined up or what the mission was. Or the propaganda that would be explaining why people would join up. Like, I
think that would be great. Seeing someone really believe in this Empire, because that was almost great for this Inferno Squadron. You know, if you, in their eyes, you could maybe see the rebels committing, what they need to do for what they believe in. And things which may be morally grey, like, I don't know, executing a prisoner just so they won't tell information or something. And you can have the Empire look at this, or at least Iden, and say, these rebels are bad. Look at what they're killing prisoners so that they can't tell people, what information they've been given away, or, they can't leak anything. That's horrible.
Can I just interject something for you for a second to add on to that and ask another question, because I like the direction you're going in, which is how would you like characters that were disillusioned, or maybe one experience altered their vision of the entire thing, or what you mean,
like rebellion or like Empire?
Well, it's either way. I think it would be very interesting if there was a character that was a rebel that joined the Empire, or an Imperial spy that went into the rebels and then decided to defect, or you could, because of the way that it's and when I speak about Star Wars, I'm talking about like the OT and the EU and all of the different canon tiers, is that they're general enough so that you can specify for the sake of the story, but they have enough specific details so that you already have a pre-existing conditions that you can plug into if you obey the rules of the road, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, as we were talking about before Battlefront 2, like, it was, the main issue was that they were touting this as you get to see the Empire perspective, and from all the trailers you could see it was like, hope will not save them, blah 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 blah. And it's like, it was so exciting and what they're advertising, and then all of a sudden the story turns around in one of the early missions and it's like, oh, we're joining the rebellion now. It's like, what do you mean you're joining the rebellion? Right. It's like, well, we joined the rebellion, it's Operation Cinder. It's like, Operation Cinder is retarded. Operation Cinder is stupid, especially with like Rise of Skywalker.
Execute Order Sister.
It's like, okay, I don't want the Empire to survive after me, but you're not dead. Why are you burning your own empire?
Why would you want to burn your own empire after you died anyway? That seems to be illogical. It also is illogical.
Yeah, but now he's alive still. Why is he? Okay, so he's gonna
there you go.
burn his empire, and then he's gonna go over there and make a new empire.
Right.
Why? He already has an empire which has a foothold in the galaxy. Why lose that foothold to only make the First Order and the Final Order? And it's not. It doesn't make any sense.
Right, exactly. Can I want to point out this super chat because I think that would be beneficial. I know I will probably repeat it when Literature Devil comes back, but just for posterity. I tend to hate the concept of good and evil in books. Usually when one side is evil, it tends to be underwritten. And that is, can I have a taste of Adam's circumcised Coke? Thank you. What a name. Good and evil in books. Let's see. This is something that I can plug into the Empire versus Rebellion Republic thing that we were talking about, which is, I like that the Emperor is the most evil person in the galaxy, and then everybody beneath him might be a little less evil, and then average stormtroopers might just be, people that are trying to get a job, or they believe in an ideology that's handed to them or whatever. That is underwritten, I would say, in Star Wars for the sake of the amount of time that the movie has to tell. And there's still opportunity at the end of the OT and in the EU and in all of those different storylines, I feel like, to have all sorts of gray characters. There's no reason why you can't have a gray tale in Star Wars or multiple different perspectives. The only issue is that you have to remember that there is a moral tale as the macro structure. What the meta is about the story, I feel like, is a moral tale. So I would, you don't have to have good beating evil every time, but what the dark side represents is not explicitly evil, and what the light side represents is not explicitly good. It's more about the perspective on life, and that to me allows for much more interpretation for the characters in fiction to think about how they want to interact with each other and decisions that they want to make. What do you think about that, Shiny? That super chat?
I'll be honest, my mind blanked while I was eating.
Oh, okay. Well, I tend to hate the concept of good and evil in books. Usually when one side is evil, written. What do you think?
It depends on what kind of story you're trying to tell. Because sometimes if you want to make something that's going to be really difficult to overcome, then it kind of can improve the stakes or up the stakes a bit more if you have an irredeemable villain. Like, obviously it's good to have relatable villains, but sometimes an unstoppable force, this unbeatable antagonist which has no mercy and is completely irredeemable, it adds so much more threat and so much more for the protagonist to overcome. And it just depends on what kind of story you want to tell and what your vision of that story is. And it depends if do you want to have a well fleshed out antagonist, or do you want the antagonist to better serve the protagonist while still having it all make sense? Obviously, you can't just have doing it for the sake of doing it. You have to make it work within the story.
I think that's pretty apt. Let's see, what were we saying right before that? We were talking about
Battlefront. We were talking about and the new Starfighter Squadrons game.
Right. Yeah. Do you know what the engine is for that yet? Is it?
I don't know.
I hope it's not.
I think it could be.
Game.
I believe it could be.
Oh no.
I'll tell you what. 1 second.
And then the other thing is that
studio behind it is the studio, I believe, that built. At least from the Wikipedia page, I believe they worked on Battlefront 2, and I believe they're the ones that made the Starfighters combat in that game.
That makes me really nervous.
The Starfighter combat in Battlefront 2 wasn't that bad.
I'm not saying that it's that bad. What makes me nervous is that, and the fact that it's only $40. That makes me think it's not a full AAA video game.
Well, I think it's more just the taking an aspect of a game and making it a full, maybe making improvements and making a bigger game. It's kind of like, XCOM Chimera Squad.
Yes, I do.
They've pretty much taken the things from Battlefront, they're taking things from XCOM 2, and they've repackaged it and give it a new dressing, and they put it out cheaper because they're just really improving upon what they already had for XCOM 2 with some extra gameplay, some extra this, extra that.
It just makes me nervous because the Frostbite engine, it's primarily built for the Battlefield experience, large maps.
It's built for first person shooters. It's not built for fighter squadron games. And the problem is, I think I've said before, if they were using a game engine like Unreal Engine is specifically it's designed for almost everything, and it's designed to be very flexible. The prefab for everything is already there, so it's easy just to make a Starfighter combat system because the building blocks for what you need are already there. But and the framework's already there. But if you're going into Frostbite, you have to build everything from the ground up, and that was something which was a huge problem for Mass Effect Andromeda because they didn't have the framework for a third-person camera, and also showing a model. What they had was a first-person perspective, and they can't always use that well enough.
Would you? Sorry, go on. Keep going. Yeah.
I'll let you jump in because that was pretty much finished what I was saying.
Oh, okay. I was gonna take it in a different thing because somebody in chat wanted to ask a question. Harry S. I believe this was for somebody else in chat, but I felt like it was worth just bringing up. Can I ask a question? It's for a character concept. I want to create an archer hero that's very distinct from Hawkeye and Green Arrow, though I don't know how. And I like this question because it applies to, I think, anybody that wants to come up with a character that's like another character. What exactly is going to distinguish your character from another pre-existing character that has a specific weapon style or fighting style as its main? Sweet, he's back.
Yeah, it's back for a few minutes, I think.
Okay,
I'm trying to. I don't know if I missed any. I know I missed any of the sharks. I don't know if I actually read that super chat out, so I'm trying to figure out if I.
There, you got it right there. Yeah,
God,
I read it out, but as I said, we should go over it again. Yeah,
Legel.
And welcome, voice
Let
in the radio.
Oh no.
Dev died again.
Oh God.
My back.
Oh no.
He's here.
You're in and out.
Yeah,
He
I went
went
ahead and
into the-
canceled the show. I was going to finish the rest of
No,
these.
no, don't cancel. We can still do this.
Dev just went into the basement to come and pick me up and bring me for the stream. I've been having some delicious lunch, Shiny.
Oh, don't tell me he's gone again.
I'm out again. See, this is why I'm going to cancel the show.
No.
Yeah.
We can't cancel it now.
Why not?
We're all
people
here.
waiting. Yeah, we're all here. The chat's here and
I
everything.
mean, but I want to know are you behind like VPNs or why is it cutting out?
I
what could it
actually
possibly be?
have no idea. I have no
The
idea.
circus can still operate without the ringleader, Dev.
Oh, it's up to you, man.
Oh, he did.
Is he dead
He's in
again?
again. He's God.
Well,
Anyway, so,
everyone,
Star Wars
welcome to
Squadrons.
Welcome to the Voice Glib and Shiny show.
No, it's the Shiny Voice and Glib show now. It's in order.
I had a delicious lunch, by the way, Shiny. I had cheese and Marmite sandwiches
That's insane.
Why wouldn't you have a full English breakfast?
because it's 2 p.m.
But that's
I
not
can't
an
believe
excuse.
it's 2 p.m.
You're
for you
English.
guys. It's
It's not breakfast.
5:30 a.m. for me, or like it's like 6:30 in the morning.
You know what I also had?
It's like a 7-hour difference, but
I reheated some pizza from yesterday. Do you know what was on it?
Marmite?
if it's Marmite, we'll have to backhand you.
Marmite
It
and
was-
pineapple.
it
I
was
will
ham
rip
and
out your
pineapple.
radio parts.
Oh, ham and pineapple. You would voice. You'd be
Okay,
like,
look,
absolutely delicious. I can't wait to. And then I
Voice.
can imagine voice on the radio with the knife and fork eating the pizza in little slices.
Yeah, I
Boys,
actually,
I'm going to
I
have
eat
to
the pizza.
smash your little radio.
I actually eat the pizza in reverse. I eat crust first.
You are such a contrarian. What year is it? 4,382? I don't know.
I will let you into a secret, my friends and dear audience. Marmite is great in sandwiches. Pineapple is fine on pizza, and it does not matter if you put the milk in first with your cup of tea.
Okay, let's see here.
Search
Can I have
your
a
feelings.
All right.
Can I have a taste of Adam's circumcised Coke, the Image of 5? I'm going to get this before I go out again. I tend to hate the concept of good and evil in books. Usually when one side is evil, it tends to be underwritten. Underwritten? Like a... Not played up to the side. So like a not played up to its full maximum potential of evil.
I think that he meant that it's morally simplified to the point where it doesn't have very much dynamic.
No, it's like a
characterization.
the mustache twirling villain sort of thing.
Yeah, and then we were relating that to stories that you could tell in Star Wars could be, the most evil person is the Emperor, and then different characters join up with the evil Empire because they don't think it's evil because they don't know the depths of the evil.
But yeah, in Star Wars content, it's supposed to be more or less simple. It's supposed to be like black and white morality, that sort of thing. It's not meant to. Star Wars was never meant to be like overly complex like that. It's supposed to be, well, not like that. But I mean, it wasn't meant to be overly complex as like Ryan Johnson and J.J. Abrams wanted it to be. It can be complex, of course. It can have its complexity, and it does, even the original trilogy. But I mean, the old hero becoming a villain, becoming this generation's villain. That's pretty complex in and of itself. It's downright Shakespearean, but the overall concept tends to be pretty simplified. The good guy versus the bad guy. Even though Darth Vader turned out to be a hero from the past, the last generation's hero.
Right.
It turned out to be that he was still the bad guy. He was still, without question, the bad guy. There wasn't like a noble demon, really. That trope. He was ruthless and merciless, and he killed people without a second thought. I mean, he might have a few other positives to his character, but it was mostly just bad guys and good guys.
I feel like what was I going to say? The thing about Darth Vader and Anakin being retconned is that even though it changes the scope of the story and even though it changes the details of the characters, overall the characters are meant to be archetypes that represent things that are morally relevant to our Western civilization, what we believe in, what we share, what we want to teach kids. It's a general moral tale. Now, that's not to say that you can't delve into deeper, more complex issues. But the only thing I'm going to disagree with Lid Dev is that I don't think that there's actually that complexity in The Last Jedi or whatever. I think that they wanted it. I think you're right. But it's not there.
There's no complexity in Last Jedi. It's that they think they have it in there. But it's what the creators' intentions was to make, the Last Jedi. They wanted to make Star Wars complex. And they said they were making complex. But they didn't have it in there. Star Wars the original Star Wars was kind of simple, good guys versus bad guys. They wanted to make The Last Jedi more complex, where it's like, it's all this gray morality stuff. They wanted it to be that way. It didn't turn out to be that way, but I'm saying that they shouldn't. That is Star Wars is not really meant for all of this heavy, complex gray morality. At least it wasn't built that way. It wasn't built on that.
It wasn't originated that way.
Yeah, it wasn't originated that way. But they wanted to do that, and it's okay to take it that direction, I guess. But you have to keep in mind that a lot of Star Wars fans, they want to see the good guys rise up against the bad guys, the evil tyrants and things. So you have to keep that in mind and not just dismiss their feelings when they don't like what you've written.
Well,
they don't like they don't like your style.
What the hell's with you? You can't even write, and you think you have a style.
I haven't seen that one yet. Oh man, that just blasted what I was gonna say though out of my brain.
Oh, about this one.
If I wasn't so damn peaceful and in line with the Force, I'd get up and I'd smack the shit out of you.
It's kind of what I'm saying to my internet service right now. Is he Escobafono? Thanks for $9.99. We'll do it live. I know I now have access to all the chat, so I'll start over. Hex Harper, thanks for the $9.99. Sorry, your day's been a dumpster fire. Here we go. Appreciate that, Hex Harper. It sure has been so far. Lenny the Shark, I know my internet died on yours, I think. So thank you much for the 2. Appreciate that. Here's some more, Master Satan. Appreciate that. Lenny the Shark, thank you very much. I think I'm going to have to go ahead and do an extra stream this week is to make up for this one. This is all the internet decided to commit treason on me.
It's treason then.
It is treason then. Can I have a taste of Adam's circumcised Coke? Thank you very much for 5. I know I read yours already, but I'm going to read it again because I'm going over these all over again. I tend to hate the concept of good and evil in books. Usually when one side is evil, definitively evil, I think it tends to be underwritten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went over that one, yeah.
Yeah, really, really simple. It tends to be simplified. When you have a definitive black and white morality. Yeah, I mean, you can see that in old comic books too, where the hero is without question good, and the bad guy is without question evil, like with no redeeming aspects. So just completely 100% evil, and the good guys are completely 100% good. Like the kind of the old pulp style. Escobafono, for $9.99. We'll do it live. We certainly will.
Fuck it.
And the new one, Verde, I think, which is the 5. You can introduce gray morality into Star Wars. You just have to be mindful of the source material. Just look at KOTOR games. Exactly, exactly. That's where they didn't succeed in The Last Jedi, is they didn't pay deference to the source material, because you could totally take it that way. The original wasn't really based on complex, overly complex morality, overly complex issues. That's more like Star Trek's domain. But there's nothing preventing a future writer from making it that way. I'm pretty sure that the Star Wars Clone Wars series did that quite well, where they started making things more complex. The line "heroes on both sides," it made it brought Star Wars into a more complex era.
Well, you mean the episode? It's Heroes on Both Sides, where it's showing that the Separatists were also made of, planets and governments which just weren't happy with the Republic, so they joined the Separatists, and wasn't just showing them as the bad guys, which we saw them as before.
Yeah, exactly.
That's I think that depth in writing is that you have characters that have decisions that are not easily made. It's easy to be good when the story is pushing you in the direction of that. It's really hard to be good when, let's say, you have a character that works for a company and they work for like the office of the inspector general, but their boss is corrupt. So how are they going to do their job? Well, they have to find a more complex solution or they'll fail. What's the cost of their failure? And is the cost of their failure personal? And what are the consequences? Does it mean something to them and also to the larger society that they're a part of? Or is it that the larger society is already corrupted and their disillusionment is part of their losing their willpower? So you have a lot of things that you can play with, I feel like, within social norms, within the psyche of somebody that is a part of something, somebody trying to do the right thing. And then, of course, that's only a character that's trying to do moral things. You have an entire D&D alignment chart to play with. So when we're talking about being mindful of the canon and mindful of the story, I feel like we have to understand the meta, and the foundation of the content is still that sort of moral tale. So if you have a 3-episode arc of some movies that are set, like let's say the High Republic that they're trying to create, that still should have some sort of good ending in the end. If you're going for the happy ending, it should be like a tragedy, or it should be a drama, or it should be like a comedy. It needs to have something that is in the core DNA of Star Wars that fans recognize. It doesn't have to.
I don't think they should make it a comedy, though.
Well, it shouldn't be. It can be. Yeah, you're right. It shouldn't. But what I'm saying is that like a comedy from the from the classical perspective.
So it's more
resolution wise. Not like Jar Jar jokes. I mean, like the way that it ends is on a laughing note. It's a punchline type thing, a joyous, raucous ending, as opposed to an ending that could be like The Empire Strikes Back. Like you could tell, like Revenge of the Sith is the negative ending, and then the original trilogy is the positive ending. You could have other styles of endings. You could have more gray endings, if you get what I'm saying.
Let's see, Market 3D. I agree with his own. Just stream us Danganronpa. Oh, there definitely will be a Danganronpa stream this Saturday. I mean, this weekend now. Definitely. Especially because Dr. Alba Miracle Child, still live on Indiegogo, by the way, has reached $43,940. Let me bring it up real quick. We're just $60 away from hitting another 1,000. It's fantastic. You have been very generous. Uh-oh. There we go. See, we were at $43,940. So, but even if we don't reach 44,000, I will be streaming Danganronpa this weekend.
I hope you're getting paid to shield this guy's work, Literature Devil.
He pays me generously. Don't worry.
in views. In social media awareness.
And see, Demon with Thy Sword, Agent Yokai Zero, thanks for $9.99. Link, I'll email my Discord to make this easier. Okay. Let's see here. I know I have your Twitter now. Get another person to to hold down the fort when I inevitably go down again.
Also, I was thinking I was gonna bring some up again, but I guess after all this, I can't forget.
It's easy to get lost in the sauce.
The sauce.
There's Yeah, there's so much news. If I spend any amount of time on Twitter, I'm like inundated with up-to-date events. If I just log off or delete it or stay offline, I have no idea what's going on in the world, and I don't think that's a good thing.
Maybe you shouldn't be getting all your news through Twitter.
It's like where people, you know what it is it's like as soon as somebody has something that they want to blab to the world and get a bunch of attention, they go to Twitter, and I don't know why that is.
Yeah, Twitter fosters the act on your impulse sort of thing. That's why I think that's why so many NPC weirdos are drawn to it, because they're all emotion, they're all impulse. They don't have any sense of discipline.
There's a little bit of that freaks me out, and it's funny because I took that Myers-Briggs test or whatever, and I know that it's goofy, and like people say, oh, it's probably not that accurate, but I'm INTP, so I fall into this 3% category, and I'm just like, maybe it's confirmation bias, but I definitely feel like I'm the odd man out a lot of the time. I just don't understand mob mentality at all.
I'm actually the same. I also tested INTP.
Makes a lot of sense. I have sympathy for the devil, I guess.
Welcome, Agent Yokai Zero / Demon Lesword / Angel Lesword. Welcome.
Yeah, it's mounting up a little bit, isn't it?
No, Glib, it's just like you're friends with the devil. That's it.
No, it's just that you're an asshole, Glib. You're as bad as the devil.
Yeah, that's
all right. I took a minute to send that super chat because it wasn't obvious to me how intrusive I was being, to be honest.
Well, I just want everybody to know I was the first Twitter follower of Yokai. I'm number 1.
He is number 1.
Glib is Ichiban now.
All according to Keikaku.
It was actually kind of impressive. It was like 2 seconds after I followed him. It was like, boom, instant reciprocation.
You thought it was Dio, but it was me, Glib.
But not in a gay way or anything.
No, of course not. Yeah, it goes without saying.
Oh, man, what a classic.
Let's see here. But, while I have internet, I think I have some videos up and some articles and stuff that concern Star Wars. There's a lot of Star Wars news that came out recently.
All right, I'm here. I'm ready. I smell it.
So we can cover it while I'm still alive. Let's see here. So check this out. There's a rumor. Rumor has it. Now this is take this with a grain of salt, but rumor has it that George Lucas and Jon Favreau hated Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Now you have to think
that's not news. That's not news. That's not news.
We can assume that.
Ironically, it's not news. That is true. It is like isn't this information like weeks old? I remember watching that stream premiere.
No. George Lucas, we already knew from the very start, like he hated Force Awakens. So it's not that much of a stretch to say he also hated The Last Jedi.
It's a rumor, though. It's not confirmed.
And Jon Favreau is a passionate fan, so I'd understand if he did.
And Jon
Favreau's been in Star Wars before, hasn't he?
Jon Favreau still is my. I think Jon Favreau voiced that one guy, that one Mandalorian.
Yeah, in a pre-Vizsla.
Yeah.
He also voices post-Vizsla as well.
No, it's kind of a contrast. Have you ever seen that movie on Netflix called what was it? No, I forgot. It's called. It had the guy who plays Hannibal in there, Mads Mikkelsen.
Polar.
Polar, that's it.
Yeah.
His last name is Vizsla. too.
Really?
Yeah.
Vizsla, like the dog.
He's like a Russian name or something like that. He's a retired assassin.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite dog breeds is Vizsla.
Vizsla?
Yeah,
well, that's perfect. He kind of is like a doggish character. He's called the Black Kaiser. That's his assassin name. And so he's kind of like unrelenting.
I think the numbers just said something funny. Breaking news: the sky is blue.
Not here yet. It's still a little gray. Lies.
But the Last Jedi. So Jon Favreau is still in my good graces because I have yet to hear him throw the fans under the bus like Filoni did.
Interesting.
Filoni.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's part of the reason why I didn't want to necessarily go to the Clone Trooper stream, and I didn't want to be like a negative Nancy about my opinion on Dave.
Dave Filoni.
Well, I mean, you can think negatively of Dave Filoni, but that doesn't mean that work he's done isn't good.
Oh, of course not.
Mhm.
No. What he's done that has been
Well,
good
that's like
has been good.
that's like saying, okay, well, George Lucas has said some iffy things. So the original trilogy is automatically bad.
I don't think George has ever said anything that was negative towards the fans, though.
Yeah,
As
I
far as
know
I've seen-
he has. George Lucas. It was. I understand where he was coming from because it was coming off of the prequels backlash.
Oh yeah,
where
that's understandable. Because
where he was very upset the way people were treating him, and like
What did he say,
specifically like like it was in response to things like like the George Lucas raped my childhood kind of
that's
attention he was getting.
That's kind of
And
understandable.
And the harassment and hate mail, he ended up saying, fans are never going to be happy, blah 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 blah, and he said some iffy things.
Yeah, that's understandable. With the Favreau, I mean, no, the Filoni, he says, "Hey, I'm having
Yeah,
a good
it's
time
like-
up here. I'm just going to go ahead and insult all the fans out of the blue because
Yeah,
they
people,
hate the wrong Star Wars movie. They hate the wrong
But,
Disney movie."
But as I said before, it's so strange because even we saw yesterday the way he was talking about the fans. He was like saying how amazing they were and how great they were. And it's like, none of this would, season 7 wouldn't have happened without the fans. They stayed with us, 7 years after it was cancelled to finally be able to bring it back and to tell this story. I just hope we can tell the story to the quality which the fans want.
Yeah, I just want to point out
It's
there's
like-
a difference between fan reactions. Like, so there is like the fan reaction that George Lucas got, where like, you raped my childhood on stuff, you ruined everything. There is an understandable backlash from the creator if certain fans go too far, because that's definitely a thing. What my problem is with people like Filoni saying, you just hate women if you just have the mildest criticism, the most mild criticism of the TLJ. Or one of these other movies. It's like,
Meanwhile, he's created a show with one of the most well-loved female protagonists within Star Wars.
exactly. He even said, not only the girls were not only the boys, but the girls and everyone else were cheering for Ahsoka Tano. It's universal. She's loved universally, almost as if she's a well-written character, and not a character at all, like Rey is. So it's a big difference there. So while I can understand, while I'm angry at or disappointed at Filoni for throwing the fans under the bus because they didn't like, the Star Wars movie they're supposed to be liking, I can understand why George Lucas was upset, because it wasn't because, oh, you're all bigoted and everything. It was him putting out a project and then people getting mad at the project and some people going too far. I'm pretty sure George Lucas can take some criticism, but the amount of criticism that he got from the prequel series, some people admittedly went too far.
It was more personal.
Yeah.
The more personal attacks towards him.
It was more personal. It wasn't your movie has a woman in it, therefore I hate it, or anything like that.
So like the.
It was like personal.
So I think
attack.
criticism against your work is usually fine, but it's the personal criticisms and personal attacks which would often, I think, cause the most issue.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, the thing is, it's usually we go off with the realm of mutual respect, but when one side, when creator or customer ventures away from mutual respect, it tends to break that trust. So this is why we make fun of people like Filoni, or when other creators like that, like Ryan Johnson, when they come out and say, you didn't like my Star Wars movie, well, that's because you hate women. That's not mutual respect. That is just insulting your fans because you felt personally attacked. George Lucas was personally attacked. So it's kind of it can be an iffy issue, but I ultimately can understand where George Lucas is coming from for the most part. Now, he might have overreacted, of course, but it's understandable too. But for the most part, I can understand where George Lucas is coming from. But with Filoni, where you didn't like The Last Jedi, therefore you're just intimidated by female characters, is ridiculous.
As I keep saying, the whole thing's just very confusing to me.
And unfortunate, because I like Dave Filoni until I heard that.
I still like him because he's a great person. You look at the behind the scenes videos and he's so relatable. In the middle of it, the thing is, he starts like complaining about how after he got married, he had all these fucking pillows on his bed. He doesn't know what half of them do. There's just funny little
sending
random conversation.
I'm just popping a couple of links in the private chat that I think we could cover if you want.
I honestly, again, I'm
Was
skeptical of it
Dave
because
Filoni complaining about pillow placement.
No, it was on the Umbara behind the scenes. It was after you crashed and left, and it was when it was getting to Krell's death. What was it?
They were just talking about pillows. They were asking about like curtains or something. That
Oh yeah,
were
curtains.
weird
It's
in
like
Star Wars.
yeah, and then they were talking about it, like talking about pillows somehow. And it's like when you get married, you just kind of have pillows everywhere now, and it's like, did any of you have this problem? It came up a few days ago in the writing room when we said, do any of you have this problem? We have so many pillows. I don't know any of them before. And they said, how many pillows do you think Krell had? And it is, I keep saying it, and I keep talking about it because Dave Filoni, in my mind, he's just a fan who's managed to get into Star Wars, and it's absolutely brilliant. And again, he loves the fans. He's very passionate about his work, and he's a very like downright relatable guy. And he's never ever shown any kind of distaste for the fans. And again, as I keep saying, he's shown the exact opposite. So why has he done this? So why is this came out?
Well, I mean, either he doesn't like the fans anymore, or he's just bending the knee to the.
No, but there has to be something else, and I'm skeptical because I want to know what that something else is. It's kind of like the Luke all of a sudden
being a 13-year-old, edgy 13-year-old on an island.
Yeah, it's like it's a huge character change. It's like why is his character suddenly twisted into something else?
The obvious question is, why did we do this?
Well, the answer is
left-wing activists. They say, nice hobby that you have. It's a little bit sexist, don't you think? Maybe you better let us in to fix it. Bitch, it wasn't made for you.
Or something like that. And so you got to play. Thank you much too. I'll give Filoni a mistake. We all do it. Yeah, you can. It's just my personal taste on it. It's a little bit more.
Well,
it raises an eyebrow.
But it raises my eyebrow. But I'm not going to judge Dave Filoni too harshly based on something he said once. I judge people more on their overall behavior.
Exactly, understand that because I give Neil Gaiman the same leeway.
If I can separate someone's, I separate Jennifer Hale's work from her actual personality, because if you see her on Twitter, she's an unlikable bitch. If you follow her actual work, she's an unbelievably talented voice actress.
Absolutely, that's the way it should be. Where you have to be honest about the work. So even if you don't like somebody, but they produce good work, you can't just start slandering their work because you don't like them personally. That's not how things should be working. That's not honesty. It's not honesty.
Yeah.
The second link that I put is actually Doomcock's take on what we're talking about.
Is that
I think we've already seen Doomcock talking about Dave Filoni.
Okay, I know Doomcock has a new video out about Star Wars leaks and about there's a secret plan to save Star Wars, which is something I really wanted to cover today, and I thought would be interesting. I haven't seen it yet. So
yeah,
that's
we
good
can
news.
do that.
Good news.
A secret plan to save Star Wars?
Apparently, I don't know. You know,
do they also have a secret plan to save Martin Luther King? That's like the same thing to me. Let's go to the past and we'll save Leia from dying, and then no, it's not going to happen.
Just to finish what I was saying, what Dave Filoni has said, as Leia's voice said, is it raises an eyebrow. But considering that this is, again, I look at people based on their work and who they are, and I base who they are more on everything they've done and everything they've said, rather than just one thing they've said. So I'm still skeptical to judge him too harshly based on this one thing he's said, especially since it goes in the face of everything else. And I'm not going to judge his work because of something he said outside of his work.
Let's see. DJ Invoices, thank you much for the 5. Ashoka was liked initially, but they put in the work, giving her a strong arc with peaks and valleys. Rey has one arc repeated 3 times. That's 95% peak.
I don't know anyone that dislikes Ashoka.
No, she has an arc.
I still don't like her. I find her to be precociously annoying.
That's okay. I mean, just because they're well written doesn't mean you're likable to everyone. But
exactly. Yeah, I'm not gonna say that she's not well liked.
Like, for example,
that's not accurate. You know what I'm saying?
Light Yagami is well written, but I don't like him still.
Yeah, no, I don't like Light. I don't like Light Yagami, but I do enjoy Light Yagami. I don't enjoy Ahsoka, but I do respect that they built a character that is stronger than anything in the Disney.
You should have just made an Ashoka movie for the sequel trilogy.
You know,
So
I watched.
when it comes to-
The reason why I didn't like her initially was because I watched that 2008 movie in theaters, and I was really disappointed by that. And I think that left a bad taste in my mouth for a long time. But I just was too old for the animation style at the time. I felt like, and I never got into it. But I don't know. I want a more I want more 1970s, 1980s action movie, gritty, dark, Western, gangster, and with the Eastern element contrasting it style Star Wars. I miss that a lot, like the underworld stuff. And Mandalorian's trying to bring that back, but I don't, when everybody's trying to save Star Wars and there's a battle going on inside who is in control of Star Wars, it's not going to produce a product that's in harmony. It's going to be this weird product, and that's the problem with Mandalorian. I think really starts to show at like episode 3 or 4.
Yeah, that's what I like about Mandalorian too. Brings back the gritty. That's what I like about Star Trek. I mean, not Star Trek, but Star Wars. The original was that it had this gritty, kind of on the rim, on the edge, Wild West sort of nature to it. And that's what the Mandalorian is bringing back. Star Trek is more like it's the opposite. It's like very elitist, very clean, and because that's what it's supposed to be.
Right.
It's supposed to be like the idealistic utopia. The Star Wars is kind of the opposite, where it's just a kind of a dystopia almost, where you either have gangsters running everything, or you have a tyrannical empire running everything, or if you live before that, you have a inept, corrupt republic running everything.
Yeah, but we really missed out on George Lucas directing a project with William Shatner as the star. That would be amazing.
That would be amazing. Zofrats, thank you much for the 20 DKK. This is a great episode of the Shiny Glib Show.
I believe that is the Danish kroner, right? Or crown?
No, it's Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong.
They're Donkey Kong currency. But I want to thank Glib and Shiny for having me on. I had a great time so far.
You're fucking lucky to get on here. You know how much spaces come at a premium.
I'm always on when I wake up on time. It's like the earliest for me. So
see, Mark in 3D. Thank you very much for the 400 huffs of internet gas. I really need that right now. I need the internet gas. All that I can get. It's a premium now. Veni Vidi Vici internet gas. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And there will be. I don't care if Dr. Alpha gets 44,000 or not. There will be a stream. Not Doki Doki, but Danganronpa. It will start with D's. Danganronpa will continue this weekend. Yeah.
Since we already know this news about Jon Favreau and Thingy not liking the Last Jedi, can we maybe move on to the next bit of Star Wars news?
Yeah, I think you'll like this one.
More Star Wars.
Actually, I think you'll like this one actually, Shiny.
Is it that there's rumored Clone Wars sequel, or at least some kind of animated, which is going to be animated within the style of Clone Wars?
I don't know, but here's the thing about Dave Filoni. It's in Dave Filoni news. Rumor has it Dave Filoni to helm a multitude of new Star Wars Disney Plus shows. A multitude. So not just one, but several, apparently. Rumor has it.
Well, it's because Dave Filoni did like one mildly successful cartoon.
Yes.
And now they can't fucking find anyone else they trust, so they're just going to give it all to this one guy. Despite the fact he also created 2 shows, one of which was Blair, and the other was a car crash.
I mean,
I want to point out though that there's a lot of things which you will go into the Rebels and Resistance that maybe means that they're failures again. They weren't allowed to to expand the show too much because obviously Star Wars: The Clone Wars in the beginning was a very childish show, and it kind of shows definitely in the movie in the first season, but it eventually grew and it became something more. But when it came to Rebels, they weren't allowed to grow. They were constantly being said, "You can't do this. It's you can't do that. You can't do this." And everything was very overbearing on the show. It had to be a kids show, and they couldn't do anything about it. They had to make sure Ezra was almost in every episode. They had to do this. They had to do that. And Ezra is one of the biggest problems within that show, as well as how cartoonishly silly it all is. And you've got to take into account as well the huge budget slash because they were on Disney XD instead of Cartoon Network.
Ezra, Ashoka's love interest, right?
No, fuck off.
Oh man, that would be horrible.
I will rain hellfire upon
Oh,
That's the thing. He did one fairly successful cartoon, and it almost screams like Disney don't have anyone else to sort of give this to.
Well, I mean, in perspective, a guy who's done even a modicum of success in current Disney era Star Wars is a
They're
guy
kind of a
who's done-
prodigy at this point.
Yeah, infinitely more than anyone else has done.
Season 7 was extremely successful.
can I point out that
It was pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty
They-
good. Except for the sisters thing.
they have a development series where they pushed everybody away. They Lord and Miller got fired. They never had to be fired before that. Gareth Edwards got fired. He doesn't really have to get fired. Gareth Edwards is the biggest Star Wars fan, you know, aside from I really don't know the depths of Dave Filoni. Yeah, I don't know anything about what he actually is a fan of and what is his headcanon and all that. But Gareth Edwards had like all details autistically like charged in there. He gets fired. It doesn't make any sense. So what has happened is in the MCU, I think David Fincher kind of mentioned this, and he was promoting Mindhunter, but Star Wars more specifically, the production people really won't let the creative people that are independently minded create content that might be what they think the fans want, and it's because it's a control. What is it, like a control freak? Kathleen is exhibiting all of those symptoms, and the story group being the center, like central planning thing, and not
They're the story police. They're not the story group.
Right. So what we have is we have all the people that were part of LucasArts, the video game company, all the people that were part of Lucasfilm, all the people that were part of the Lucas the book deals, all the people that did the Del Rey stuff that was adding in fluff content. All of these people get ignored. And then all the new potential people you could bring in that are weathered science fiction writers and all these kinds of people. Why are we not listening to these people? Why are we all giving authority and editorial control to a small amount of people that have not proven themselves and have actually disproven their ability to be the right people to be in charge of this? And I wrestle with this all the time. I have discussions with industry people about this all the time, and it's an ongoing battle between people who are trying to get their creative material out and get the job done, and people who are trying to push an agenda. I feel like I don't understand how else to, to make this.
I feel like if they gave Dave Filoni sort of the control he needs, then it wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah, if you look at Rebels
hold on
and you look at Clone Wars Season 7, I think there's a huge disconnect between the two qualities. So there's Rebels and there's Clone Wars Season 7. So you go from Clone Wars, which is great, you go to Rebels, which is and then you go to Clone Wars again, which is great. So it makes me think that Clone Wars, they had a lot more creative control on what they could do, because it's in that more era as they're starting to let people do a little bit more. It's strange. Things used to be that within other media, you couldn't do anything. It was all very much controlled. It was over-controlled, and it very much affected the quality. But when it came to the films had far too much control. But then you swap it, now it's kind of swapped around, as the other media is now getting a lot more control, and the films are now getting a lot. So the films, everything media is, they're giving more freedom to them, so they can do what they want. But the films are being controlled a lot more, and that was specifically shown with Rise of Skywalker, as Disney and Lucasfilm themselves would constantly go to JJ, and they'd constantly make changes and demands up until like weeks before the actual release.
I see you, Nexus 906, thank you much for the 5. Appreciate that. They need to do more Underworld stuff. Maybe even bring in Tiber Zahn. Maybe not. Who's Tiber Zahn again?
I don't think that it's two ways.
I don't think throwing in like.
So here's what I have to say.
Is going to help.
Yeah. So like you have different. Let's just say you have a blank slate. That's what your potential is. But you don't really have a blank slate because you're making a Star Wars thing. So now we know that there's a rule set. And unfortunately, there's not really an easily digestible writer's guide for Star Wars like Star Trek. George never sat down and went, this is how this works. This is how big the galaxy is. This is this. And It's just not available. It should be. But let's say we had something like that, an impromptu understanding of Star Wars and how that contains. You can pick out things that already exist, but what you're doing is once you do that, you are then attached to other story threads. So if you bring in a character that the audience knows from other content, you're going to have to address that in some way or match up to it. Now, if you create new characters that have similarities in a good way or a bad way, that you would have like Kylo Ren stealing all of his traits from Revan. That's a bad example. But creating a new character that is an iteration on something that we never really got to see, like a Quinlan Vos kind of character, maybe a Jedi that had a gun as his backup. He wasn't very good at sword fighting, and it's partially because he wasn't able to really tap into the Force because he doubted too much and he didn't have a master. You could create characters and thread that into a new direction.
On that topic, have you ever seen the movie by Kurosawa called Yojimbo? It's a very famous.
Course.
Yeah, there's a whole video game series based off of that called The Way of the Samurai. But I always wanted a scenario. I always wanted like a movie or game or something like that where it takes place. It has a Jedi, because Jedi basically they're like samurai monk people. And I always thought it'd be kind of interesting if a Jedi was in that scenario. On one side there's two warring families, and then the people caught in the middle. And then the Jedi has to come in and by himself and start. He can't overpower them because they both have. There's like a gangster's side and like the law or whatever. But the law is kind of corrupt, kind of it's a kind of run on nepotism, that sort of thing. And then the people are caught in the middle because they're being abused by both sides. So there's not one clear side to go to. I kind of want to see like a scenario or a movie or something like that explores that idea of like Yojimbo, the story of Yojimbo taking place within the Star Wars universe, starring a Jedi. I think that'd be kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because it can't just rely on lightsabers and the Force. He has to go by wits, because one is the dominant, literal established law enforcement. The other one is the gangsters, and might not be the best people to go with. Like you could have like a balancing out, like the law enforcement being the law, but kind of cruel, while the gangsters are still cruel, but they're not the law. They're kind of on the black market side, but they're a little nicer. They actually help people or something like that. And then you have the people who are stuck in the middle that are abused by both sides, and of course the Jedi in question will be on the people's side, but he has to maneuver through this complex like political landscape can't use just the Force or just the lightsaber, because you could spark a war, which would mean that more people would die, more innocent blood would be spilled. So it's lightsabers and Force powers, but mostly the Jedi's wits and his morality taking place.
That just gave me a great idea. And I don't know if it was a short film or maybe an episode of something or just the initial incident for a movie. But imagine a Jedi is doing something with his lightsaber and it either gets shot or gets destroyed, and then they have to go and get a new crystal. And that's the journey that the Jedi then has to take.
That's Fallen Order.
Right, exactly.
Well, remember have you seen the last season of Samurai Jack where he lost his sword in the beginning of it?
Mm-hmm.
It'd be kind of like that. So the Jedi would loses his lightsaber. He has to build a new one, but the journey to get to the lightsaber will cause him to think of different methods of defense and attack. So instead of just relying on the Jedi weapon, the lightsaber, you have to rely on swords and blasters and whatever else is around him, including his wits and his Force powers.
Or if he could do what we all want him to do, he does martial arts without any weapons.
Exactly.
Well, something.
Well, I always wanted to see guns with a Jedi, with somebody with Force-sensitive powers, and in the hands of a completely chaotic, neutral character.
Well, that's Gun Kata from Equilibrium.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
More unfinished episode for you then, where Anakin uses blasters. But hey, one of the ideas I had.
But I don't want it to be a gimmick. I want it to be a character trait.
But there's a character which I kind of had an idea for, and it was a Jedi which. So there's two blades. There's two kinds of, just dumbing it down, but there's two kinds of lightsabers. Usually, when you see people with two lightsabers, specifically Ahsoka Tano, they have two blades. There's a regular lightsaber and there's a Shoto blade. And a Shoto blade is the other blade she holds in her offhand. She holds it in the back grip, and it's much shorter. And the whole idea is it's for defense. And that kind of gave me the idea is, what if you had a Jedi which only had a Shoto blade? So they hold it in their offhand and only use it for defense, and then with they use their hands and legs to attack because they've gone for this extremist idea of pacifism and not to kill. So like they just refuse to kill anyone. And I kind of like the idea of them using martial arts. They kick and they punch, and they have to be extremely careful and skillful when they kick and punch, especially in lightsaber combat, because one wrong move, slice their hand, they've lost their hand or their leg, and they can only use the other lightsaber in their hand to block these attacks.
It sounds really. I like these scenarios where, because it's been too much emphasis, I think, on problem arises, Jedi whips out lightsaber.
Yep,
it seems to be the normal thing. I want to, because there's so much there to explore. It's not like you have to change things up to get a different dynamic on this. Just remove the lightsaber from Jedi and see what happens. And see, Alex Halo, thank you much for too. Sorry I couldn't make it to your stream, Shiny. Work? Oh, no problem. I think it's still
That's
up.
fine.
You can watch it if you want to.
Yeah, you can watch it right now on my channel, Shiny Effects on YouTube. I've actually got a custom link now. I didn't realize that was something I was entitled to, but now I have a custom link. It's now / Shiny Effects rather than /
Congratulations, that's hard to get, I hear.
5151.
Let's see, Verde, thank you much for the 5. They're fighting a losing battle because the creatives will eventually circumvent the system, just like George Lucas did. Yeah, George Lucas. That was kind of what the beautiful thing about George Lucas's project is that he didn't want to be controlled by the weirdos in Hollywood, so he kind of went around it. He kind of went on his own and started developing his own stuff, his own studios and his own companies they can go to for his works.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what creative people do. They meet an obstacle. And if they don't want to appeal to the obstacle, they go around it. They think of a way around it.
It's forced creativity.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the best. That's when you get your most creative, when your options are so limited.
Because you have to work your way around these problems.
Exactly. Let's see here. Okay, so Dave Filoni is going to helm a multitude of new Star Wars Plus shows. I wonder if he's going to, because there is a new show that's rumored to be occurring. It's going to be headed by Leslie Headland, the one that's the female-centric show.
Another one?
Yeah,
I think it's the same one.
The one where they're going to get Boba Fett.
Oh, this is what's it called? What's the guy's name? Harvey Weinstein's old assistant?
Yeah, that's her. Harvey Weinstein's old assistant.
Of course.
Yeah, they brought her on, and she has no credentials, of course, in sci-fi fantasy. But they brought her on anyway, because I guess she's friends with Kathleen Kennedy. So they're going to kill off Boba Fett, and they're going to bring in a new Mandalorian character. I forgot what her name was. And they're just going to give her Boba Fett's armor. And that's going to be Kathleen Kennedy's version of the Mandalorian. We're going to have 2 Mandalorian shows. One called the Mandalorian, the other one is going to be a woman that's
not DeLorean.
How appropriate that she flat out steals Boba Fett's armor. Like, very fitting, isn't
Steals
it?
his legacy, yeah. The woman Mandalorian.
I'm amazed, man. But I shouldn't be.
She didn't get her female-led Mandalorian show, so she's going to make her own.
To chat a little, if you're free. It's no worries if not. Just thought I'd ask because I'm right here. Hi.
What?
Let's see, Barry Bend. I would love to see a Jedi fight with Force-imbued swords. It's from the old lore instead of a lightsaber.
Yeah. I
remember that.
What?
It used to be like a Jedi versus Sith, but they were holding regular swords, just imbued with the Force.
No, I get that. I had that idea too. This is great.
I think it's actually part of the lore.
It's part of Legends.
It was that, and then they got the weird lightsaber thing that had to run off backpacks or something.
No, that's dumb.
Yeah, eventually they evolved to just lightsabers, but I think the proto lightsaber was just a lightsaber that was charged by a backpack battery. Like those old phones.
It was huge and clunky. Yeah, I like the idea that the lightsaber wasn't just straight away something which you could,
it's technology. It's how it evolves, and obviously,
it's
bigger power.
Why would anybody use that though?
Well, it's how.
Well, originally it was.
Why would anyone use a DVD player these days? But that's how you get from A to B with technology.
That's not the same thing.
It is absolutely the same thing.
No, it's not.
Yes,
No,
it
we
is.
didn't go from swords to backpack power swords to guns or to lightsabers or whatever to laser swords. It's like it's illogical to have the heavy weapon
If you wanted
when
a
it's
laser
a
sword,
more elegant weapon for a more civilized, right? It's not supposed to be.
No, but
You
the
know,
advantage
Obi-Wan's
of a
like,
laser sword.
It's your father's. It's your
No, but the
great
advantage
great
of
grandfather's
a
lightsaber
lightsaber over a
Well,
sword.
yes,
Gleb,
from a terrible era.
Gleb, so when it comes to okay, so imagine the advantage that would give you an object which cuts through any blade in combat. You know,
Hell,
you have
we
a Sith.
those now. They're called power torches. Do you know how they
No,
work?
no, but
you carry a backpack.
No, so what you know? Okay, you've got your Sith and his little force imbued blade. Oh, here we go. And it's like, oh, I've got my lightsaber. It's like, oh, look, your blade's just been cut in half. Oh, that's bad for you. Stab. So it's not that it gives a huge advantage, even though it's less advanced.
Yeah, I like the idea that there's like
Man.
a proto lightsaber. I do like that. It's really interesting going into the lore of Star Wars and how the Jedi developed and everything. It's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the idea that they carry around a backpack to fight with a sword.
I think that's pretty irrational, but okay.
That's how you started with guns. You didn't have magazines with bullets in. You had to load them individually to start with. In fact, you had a little packet for gunpowder and a little packet to keep the pellets in. Then you had a little stick that you had to dampen it all down with, and it was extreme waste of time. So why don't we just stick to bow and arrow? It's quicker. But that's how technology evolves. It starts off being really cumbersome and inefficient, and then you refine it, and it becomes better.
It's
And
not
now
we've
crystal
talked so much about
powered.
this. I
It's
can't
not
remember what the fuck I was gonna
backpack
explain
powered
before.
swords. Backpack powered swords are nothing like having a percussion cap rifle evolve from a matchlock or a flintlock.
But we just explained why it would be advantageous to have a lightsaber over a sword, even if it's attached to a backpack.
No, because you could just kill that guy with a musket.
Yeah, but you can't kill a Jedi with a gun, can you?
Why not?
Well, you can, but they're just going to deflect it.
I'm pretty sure. I think it worked just like a regular lightsaber, except you needed a backpack to charge it still.
I mean, yes. In the real world, if I had a sword and you had a gun, chances are, unless I'm like right in front of you, you're gonna win. But in Star Wars, Jedi can block bullets essentially.
And I could imagine if you shot, a lightsaber, a force imbued blade, that could block a blaster bolt. Maybe not deflect it, but block it certainly. Or Jedi is just going to do an Anakin Skywalker and just dodge out of the way.
That's a little too far out there for me in the historical world building of Star Wars. I find it hard to believe that spacefaring civilizations would have backpack powered lightsabers.
But
this is back when the technology was like really, so like the hyperdrive and the ships themselves were really.
I don't think you're going to be able to justify it to my brain that far back in Star Wars history. Any of the technology is not going to make sense because it already doesn't really make sense as it is.
To be honest, I've actually heard about the backpack-powered lightsabers before.
It doesn't have to make sense in our universe. As long as
I'm not saying it does. I'm not saying it does. But I'm saying that we have light speed, like aircraft. You have spacecraft, space traveling civilizations. And we have all of this.
I think we talked Dev to death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got to start somewhere. So obviously, light speed was something that was invented. So they obviously had sub-light speed before that, and then before that, they obviously didn't have the capacity to go to light speed at all. And you just backtrack it. It's watching evolution of technology. So if you wanted to go thousands of years into the past, when Christophsis wasn't a shining city, and we didn't have wars going on, and spacefaring was only something that the Star Wars universe was starting to crack into, then yeah, you're going to go with less robust, more cumbersome, more sort of what's the right word? Prehistoric technologies for the universe.
And anyway, super chat by Lenny the Shark. Stealing Boba Fett's armor. Isn't that like what Batwoman did? Why do these strong independent women need to steal? God damn it! Now the fucking thing's gone out of my view, and I can't scroll up. Give me a second. And
Why
I can
strong and independent women need to steal from their... Yeah, go on.
1 sec. Okay, there we go. So, why do strong independent women need to steal from their male counterparts instead of doing their own thing from scratch? Yeah, it's kind of strange because you'd you think that you want them to be independent, be able to make it on their own. So isn't it a bit insulting to say like they need to steal it from like a male character who invented this thing or has this thing? It's like I forgot what Ironheart or whatever her name is stole the technology from Iron Man, or Batwoman stealing the armor as it's mentioned in the super chat. I guess it's more convenient for the storytellers because it makes things easier. It doesn't service the story. It just services. Okay, they want another Iron Man. How do they? Oh, they want another Iron Man. They want another Batman. How do they go about that? Easy just to steal rather than to like actually make them, tell a story where they develop.
They just want to steal shit and destroy it and play dress up.
Well, no, I don't think that I don't think they're intentionally destroying it. They just think, okay, I want to make a Batwoman show. How do I make a Batwoman? Well, how about she takes the armor?
Yeah, I don't think that it isn't their motive to destroy it. It's their motive to create something and to push their agenda, and they're simply willing to hurt people to do that.
It's more, they're not trying to destroy something. They're just self-destructive by their nature.
And I think that destroying other people's creations is just a consequence of pushing their agenda.
And they don't care.
Exactly.
No, I think that they have a subconscious or a conscious desire. Because the line in the script says it'll be perfect when it fits a woman. And then it blames Bruce Wayne for running away. And then makes him look like an idiot. And then they remember the crossover, the Crisis, where they bring in the Batman for the first time. We get to see a live action older Batman, something that people have wanted for a long time, played by Kevin Conroy, and then they just like kill him unceremoniously.
That's more agenda than anything.
Right, intentional.
No, but it's more agenda rather than intentionally destroying something. They just don't care if they destroy it or not.
I think the agenda is to destroy all of our male role models.
Well, I don't really
think that you. Okay, name one that hasn't been destroyed.
And what I'm more talking about is I don't think Kathleen Kennedy wakes up.
I know what you're talking about. I disagree with you. I'm just going to say I disagree with you, dude.
Okay, hold on. This is what I think. I think that this is what I think. I think that they want to push feminine role models, and I think that sometimes, even when they can't do that, they want to at least break even by destroying an established masculine role model. It seems like they have two goals, and sometimes they get confused between them. They're like, what do I want to do today? Do I want to destroy a masculine role model, or do I want to establish a feminine role model? Well, what's the difference? Let's just pick whichever one is easier to get done today.
It's easier to make a new role model look good by tearing an old one down.
Yeah.
And if that happens to be that you want a female role model, but the way to sort of bring them a cut above the rest is to tear down the remaining role models, then that's how you're going to do it.
It's like they're killing two birds with one stone. I'm actually starting to I'm starting to think that it isn't it's not just establishing new stuff. It's not even just ends justifying the means. It's kind of like, I think they have two goals, and they're killing two birds with one stone. They're like, we want to destroy the masculine role models and we want to establish feminine role models. Let's kind of do both. Let's destroy them and use that to make it easier to establish new ones. It's both.
I think the important thing you have to remember when it comes to social justice, and I think I have the experience to say this since I used to be of the same mindset of these people don't wake up and they think, they don't think that what they're doing is malicious by any means. That it's something they kind of. It's hard to explain the mindset because it's a very complicated mindset. It's not explicitly they want something, they want to destroy. They just often don't care, and they rationalize a lot of things. And so when it comes to Batwoman, I'm sure they weren't thinking, "Oh, let's destroy Batman." Rubs their hands together. It was more that they wanted to tell a story and they had an agenda. and they wanted to push that agenda, and they didn't care what got in the way, even if it was Batman's character. I'm sure. God damn, people apparently jokingly unsubbing from my channel, but it's
I
know.
Dolomaticus has the right response. The Ben Shapiro is correct. Two things can be correct at the same time. Both you and Shiny are correct, and I agree with that. There's some. I am generalizing, and I'm not even speaking about social justice.
Yeah, Dolomaticus just simplified what I was trying to say. Yeah,
right. I'm just trying to say, like, you have people out there that are trying to make a Batwoman thing, right? Why are they really trying to make a Batwoman thing? Like, what is the motivation there? Is it because Batwoman's such an awesome character and they're comic book fans and their goal is to make a comic book television series for the CW? I doubt.
No, it's because they want a girl Batman.
And even with whatever they want, I doubt, like, just to disagree with myself in a way and to agree with Shiny, I don't think very many people, if any, set out to make a bad movie or a bad TV show or something. However, I don't think that that there is a minority even of people that are in these positions that kind of do want to destroy these characters, especially in Comicsgate, where the characters come from. So to me, they did want to destroy Luke. I think Ryan did want to destroy Luke. That's why he killed him. He had all of the choice. It's like if somebody had the power of God in their hands and destiny over a real person, like, what are you going to do? If Luke was a real person and Ryan Johnson was like, had the power over this universe to control destiny, think about where he led our character and then relate that to all of the other people that are making this content, like Terminator. Where did they lead John Connor? Did they lead our hearts and souls to victory? Did they give us a good moral message to keep us going, to keep our characters alive, or to continue their legacy according to what we believed in when we walked in? No. You know what did? Mad Max Fury Road. Because Mad Max is still an interesting character. Even though they handed it over to a woman, she still failed in so many ways. She still needed Mad Max. And Max was still relative to the environment that he was in, like the previous movies. And then people are having arguments about if that's better than the previous movies because of all of the nice upgrades to the special effects and the visual effects and all that.
Does you remember how the Mad Max Fury Road backlash, where all the male lovers of the Mad Max franchise rose up and called Furiosa Mary Sue and didn't want her and refused to go see the movie?
No, and it's actually not. I do remember some people that were complaining, like, that were ignorant, it was like the quick knee jerk reaction, like, oh my God, they're giving feminist road or whatever. Like, but the idealism that those characters have, if they're pushing an agenda, is actually disproven by the movie's events. The lack of forethought, the lack of thinking about taking like responsibility for the situation that they're in and trying to work something out led to them going out to the desert on a whim that they felt was a hope that didn't really exist. And
I've heard they've actually gone that way since then. I think they're making a Furiosa spin-off movie.
Absolutely. We'll see how that does.
Let's see. KH, let's get this real quick. KH thing for the two. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, KH. Welcome. I saw I got a few more super chats, but they're not appearing in StreamYards, but I can read them out. Let's see. KH, and wish for the additional 5. Luke, this is your father's lightsaber. He used it to murder 200 kids with it.
Your father's lightsaber. Throws it behind him.
That's actually true. He used it to kill 200 kids, at least 200 kids, and a lot more people. He killed 200 kids plus, and it's not including the Sand People kids, and the women, the children.
Yeah, it's pretty horrible, and it's kind of a retcon that ruins a lot of the OT, which is why I didn't like it when it came out. And I watched it as like an 8-year-old, because or a Master DX just by the way was like saying, "Glib boomer confirmed." Absolutely, I'm a boomer. I'm going to be 29 this year. I am a boomer now.
Are you talking about the fact that it was a hero's weapon in the original trilogy, and then it turns into a weapon used to mass murder a bunch of women and children?
Yes, it became. It went from being like the musket that George Washington, it was like some fallen hero. What is it? It's from the sword. It's Aragorn's sword. The hero of what is it? Elendil? And then now it's the gun that they used at Columbine or whatever. It's like
exactly.
It's like shouldn't the police have that as evidence? Like
it went from a nice cool like Excalibur to a nuke. To Lenny the Shark, thank you much for the 10. Appreciate that. Stealing Boba Fett's armor, just like what Batwoman did. Yeah, exactly.
I've already read that out.
Kind of like that. Why do these strong, independent women need to steal from their male counterpart instead of doing their own thing from scratch? Because that takes work. And one thing they don't want to do is work. They want to build her. That's why if you look in the comic books, that's why Riri Williams, she's not only did she steal Tony Stark's idea for an Iron Man suit, she basically just copied and pasted his ideas. She stole the parts from, I think, MIT to make it in the first place, and she stole his comic book. So it wasn't Ironheart at first. It was, if you bought Iron Man, it was Riri Williams you're reading about. So it's a whole culture of stealing from the past to build yourself a new character. Because you don't have
to let old things die.
Exactly. Let the past die.
It's a pattern of disrespect. That's the whole thing. You have a let's say you had a Back to the Future sequel. What's the first? Who is the somebody that had seen that movie a billion times? What do you think their first reaction to who the main character should be, besides Doc and Marty? It's Marty's
Biff.
Kids, right?
Obviously Biff, right?
Obviously Biff, because Trump. And no, but you know what I mean. It's like there's obvious answers to these questions, and for some reason they want to be special and take a different answer instead of it being, Star Wars being a mixture and a pastiche of different decisions that were taken, like Jason Solo or whatever. They go for Rey, this original character that has absolutely no character traits whatsoever, except that she's perfect in every way or good at everything, except when they want to disprove it to the reviewers 2 movies later.
Jason Solo was so good.
In comparison, absolutely. But so was all of the other decisions that you could have gone with,
I don't even know who that is.
That's in the book sequels that were written before the prequels and all that were made. There's a whole cast of characters that are the offspring, essentially.
I'm not quite sure if they were made before at least some of them, because I remember Anakin Solo that's the Empire. I can't remember when that came out.
It's way earlier.
It came out way before I was born. That's all I know. Because there is a character named Anakin Solo, and I assumed that was because of the prequels.
Heir to the Empire came out the year I was born, in 1991.
If you present, because I know nothing about legends.
It's
or old canon.
Well, do I have a fan film for you?
If you were to present me with all these characters, like
Jason Solo was so good.
When I was
I do not know who they are. Someone needs to make that a meme, the Thanos meme. It's just my face, and you have a sea of Legends characters, and then just be like, I don't know who any of you are, because I don't know anything about Legends. What was the only? I only know one female character, Jade, Mara Jade, I think. And I don't even know who that is.
I think she was Luke Skywalker's future wife.
Yeah, she was.
Mara Jade
was the she was the Emperor's hand, pretty much his assassin, and and eventually, for a long, complicated story. That you're gonna have to read the fucking book for. I'm not going to. They're all here. She ended up falling in love with Luke Skywalker, and they ended up having children.
I remember. So there was. Do you have anything to comment on the inevitable backlash? The backlash that did occur when they introduced Mara Jade. Do you remember that backlash?
Oh God.
Everyone hated Mara Jade because she's a woman.
She's a woman, and therefore she's a Mary Sue and all that stuff. Yeah, I don't
people that. No, because like it's in seriousness. There was no backlash to like Mara Jade, but the thing is, do you know what the reasoning is that people say the reason why people had the backlash to her? Do you all know the reason?
No, I don't remember that at all.
She's attractive. That's what I meant to have a problem.
Also, Mara Jade is she's a pretty interesting character because she fell in love with Luke Skywalker, a guy who did nothing but open a door. That's pretty.
But then you're validating. You're saying a woman has worth based on who she's with.
I don't even understand that criticism because Daisy Ridley's not exactly a minger.
Well, they try to tie her down with the clothing that hides her body and everything, so to avert the male gaze. So
I think she's pretty. Anyway.
they also thing is she's got. It's more her expression which kind of makes her unattractive rather than like what she's naturally born with. It's kind of like what Brie Larson. The way I say it is that so Brie Larson and Daisy Ridley aren't unattractive. They're just the way they're often. I don't know. I guess it's the fact they're not very pleasant people. That they kind of have. They kind of have this really weird stuck up sensibility. They kind of it's stuck up. They have this really resting bitch face, kind of
very snooty.
Yeah, kind of like the I don't know. Always, I don't know how to describe it. Ray has this certain face where it's just expressionless. It's not even a neutral.
Who's the actress who plays Rose Tico again? I've forgotten.
Oh, I've forgotten. God damn, I can't remember.
Kelly Marie Tran, something like that.
There you
That's
go,
it.
yeah. I mean, she's gorgeous, actually.
Yeah, outside of a potato sack.
Outside of the film, yeah. I don't know why
when she's not dressed in a boiler suit with that weird haircut. Yes.
With greasy hair and something that makes her look really fat.
Is he Dr. Crow? Thanks for $1.99. I mean, not $1.99, $9.99. It's very generous, Dr. Crow. Appreciate that. From my experience running with SJW types, they want to tell stories even at the cost of male heroes. Don't like it. You are evil because you are the good guys. It is brainwashing. Yeah, they tend to, as you will see in my video, Is Superman Irrelevant? They tend to really enjoy villains. They like to write villains because they, by their own words, identify with villains more, identify with villains better, and by their own explanation, there's no difference, between how they feel villains are portrayed and how heroes are portrayed, even though they say there is. The difference is that they really like villains because they can do whatever they want. They're not tied down by morality. The heroes having this morality that they have to stick to is a burden to them, by their own words. Space Windu, thank you much for the 2. Appreciate that. Anakin's name was established in the OT.
Was it?
Yeah. It was. Is it his original name?
I can't remember it being established in the OT, but I guess I've just.
Didn't everyone say it?
No, all I remember him saying was lightsaber.
Anakin Skywalker.
And I don't think he said the name Anakin Skywalker.
I think it was eventually mentioned.
It was probably mentioned. I just probably forgot.
Anakin Skywalker, your father. I think it's or Anakin Skywalker. Yeah,
maybe something Luke says. I think actually might be what Luke says in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I think it's Return of the Jedi at the very least. Return of the Jedi, I think. See, Nathan Break, thank you much for the 5. Time to shill myself out here again. If you guys want to create your own Star Wars character, I'll be totally down for running Star Wars RPG.
Oh yeah, Lichev, what happened to that RPG?
I was still working on it, but it got mixed up with me trying to make this new video. But I still have the idea, kind of based the idea off of Raid, the movie. Are
we gonna stream that? Oh god damn it! Outside.
Yeah, I was thinking so. We could stream it on the Troopers Den because that's kind of the theme, the Clone Wars theme.
Okay, we can do that.
See, Verde, English of the 5. It's like Jordan Peterson says, you can't be a hero if you can't see yourself as a monster. Something that a lot of SJWs fail at. Yeah, because they are monsters, but they don't see themselves as monsters. They see themselves as heroes. They think being heroic means punishing bad guys instead of doing the right thing. So it's not even bad guys. It's people that they think are bad. But it's more like vigilante mob justice when it comes down to SJWs.
Oh, that's right. Palpatine says Anakin, the son of Anakin Skywalker in.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now you're okay. I get it now. Yeah, I remember.
Very true.
Awesome. So, how do you feel about this? I'm pretty sure you like this, right? Shiny. This would be good. I mean, this would be good because the man's words have not shown up in his actions so far. From what I've seen from Dave Filoni, it's been dedication, story, and character for the most part until we got to the sisters thing. But then again, you get the sisters first, and then you get an amazing ending to a show. So,
no. First, you get the Bad Batch. The Bad Batch is great.
Which is kind of
then you get.
So the Bad Batch was really good. The ending to the Clone Wars was pretty good, in my opinion. The only thing that he faltered on was the sisters, and that was basically it.
Not doing the Maul. That's what the son of Dathomir.
Yeah.
episodes because why would you want to know how Darth Maul escaped from Sidious? Why would you possibly want to know that?
Obvious question.
wouldn't.
Why did they do that?
Why didn't we do that?
Why didn't they do that? DJM Voices, thank you much for the 5. Kelly Marie Tran reminds me of a quote from It's Always Sunny. I see confused and uncomfortable models stuffed into an ill-fitting garbage bag. Exactly. Remember that episode? Have you seen Always Sunny in Philadelphia? Very funny show. Very
I
funny
have
show.
not all of it, but I have seen some. Yes.
Well, there's an episode with Dennis, the resident psychopath, and he gets so interested in making he goes into the fashion industry because he wants to make a dress or whatever it is, because he hates the fact that his sister Dee is going into it a little bit, and she's trying to make a dress, so he decides to go into it, and he has this really weird idea of his really like psychotic view on women and everything. So his idea of the perfect dress is like something that's barely sizable. So he gets like these awesome, like perfect 10 out of 10 models, like, and they don't fit his dimensions. Like he says they're too fat, but they're like perfect runway models. So it's like, you're too fat. He's too fat. Get out of here. And so because they're trying to sell the idea of a dress to this really high ranking person who he used to make fun of in high school. So she used to be like really fat, and he used to make fun of her. So now he's trying to dominate her again by selling her a dress that she likes. And he puts together a horrible dress, and basically she describes his dress as I see a confused and uncomfortable model stuffed into an ill-fitting garbage bag, because he made a terrible dress. That's basically where it's from. He's just trying to get into the fashion industry, or trying to appease his own ego by making a dress so he can like win back this or gain the attraction of this woman he used to mock in high school. Space Windu, thank you much for the 10. Appreciate that. You guys, Palpatine doesn't say it. He says the son of Skywalker must not become a Jedi. Obi-Wan says it like this. Anakin was a good friend when I first knew him. I think it was a Return of the Jedi. I think when they were.
It's like. Oh,
I was just gonna say, if you watch
have to rewatch it. We have to rewatch it to know this now. It's buggering me.
If you watch back, if you look at the Empire Strikes Back scene where Palpatine is giving Vader his marching orders, it's actually Vader's idea to turn Luke to the light side. And that's kind of the beginning of when you can see that Vader actually cares about Luke more than he's letting on. He's not actually trying to destroy him utterly at that point. He says, if we could turn him, he could be a powerful ally. And then Palpatine goes, yes.
Good, Anakin. Good. I mean, Vader.
Yeah.
Good.
So then they do that, and I thought that was interesting that there's it's surprising where you find subtle direction from George Lucas where you're not expecting it.
And George Lucas is always good at these big ideas, like these grand, fantastical ideas.
He's good at big idiots.
Yeah.
And then it's the same thing I see with Coppola. It's strangely inconsistent quality and lack of oversight sometimes.
I think it's more that George Lucas, he has this good ideas, but he doesn't understand what makes these ideas good. I think he just has this idea, and then to him it feels good, and then he doesn't really know if it's good or if it isn't.
I don't agree with that. I think that at the end of the day, George Lucas has made the best Star Wars content and knows it very well, and that what he doesn't know is outside of his purview. Like if you said, "Hey George, go make a really realistic and gritty noir," that's all about.
Because
he just wouldn't think about that. But
he comes up with bad ideas as well. We're not just talking about his direction and his writing. We're also talking about Jar Jar Binks. We're talking about the Christmas special. So I think he's more of an ideas guy, and he doesn't know how to direct. However, he does have these great ideas. He just can't distinguish between the good ideas and the bad ideas, which is why I think he needs more oversight.
George Lucas is a narrative idealist. Barry Bend, we wish we got the Yuuzhan Vong done. What do you think about that one?
I wish we did as well.
I hate the Yuuzhan Vong. I hate that shit. It's they are to me, a ripoff of Tyranids, and they basically come in and all of the stuff that's going on in the galaxy has to take a sideline because they're there to take over the galaxy.
Yeah, I heard about that arc.
Well,
I
it's
don't know
a big
much about them.
intergalactic threat, though. That's the appeal.
It feels like very
there's a threat to everyone. It means that I like the.
That's like World of Warcraft Cataclysm was the best expansion. It's like no,
but but still the idea of two factions having to put aside their differences to fight this bigger threat. That's a great idea for a story. The problem is you just have to execute it well. Like any other idea.
Just came across just too silly. They had giant planets that were actually alive that would move through space. And all that, and the stereotype that they've always been there, but they were on the other side of the galaxy, and we never saw them. And they've waited for some reason all this time before they decided to do anything.
Now, what I've heard about the Yuzhong Vong is that the reason why the Emperor really pumped up his navy is because he knew about them the whole time. He was anticipating their invasion. That's why
it's weak.
Yeah, I don't know. And I also know that the Yuzhong Vong coming in. They wanted to kill off a main character, so they killed off Chewbacca during that arc, I think.
They dropped a moon on him.
Yeah, I mean, if
you're gonna go out,
if you're gonna die by a moon being crushed on you.
Don't be a silhouette falling over, okay?
Yeah. Leia. And don't be a guy who gets killed by his own son and then falls into an abyss. Don't be and don't die as a coward, projecting yourself across the universe instead of actually going someplace, like Luke Skywalker did.
Have a fucking planet dropped on you. So that's how you do it.
Luke Skywalker projects himself as like a coward across the universe, dies out of a heart attack or something.
Despite the fact he had a ship that worked the entire time.
Yeah, the entire time. And then Han Solo gets murdered by his own son because he's too dumb to step backwards, and he falls over like an old man into the abyss. And then Leia just goes off, dies off screen almost, just walks off to die out of nowhere.
Fucking die.
Yeah. And Chewbacca gets a moon dropped on him. What an awesome way to die. Now it's the opposite. Now they have the sequel series has the opposite. So everyone but Chewbacca's dead. And leaving Chewbacca to wallow in his sorrow and his grief forever.
You know why Chewbacca is kept alive, right? Because the other three actors, they will age. But, the actor for Chewbacca can be replaced because it's a guy in a suit.
They already replaced him.
Yeah, exactly. They replaced him twice already, I'm pretty sure. So Chewbacca will be a constant, just like R2-D2.
The Space Windu, thing with 5. This is contentious because the new versions of the film changed the versions between Vader and the Emperor. GL made it worse and sucked Vader.
Yeah, I don't watch the 97. I use the despecialized.
Yeah, I mean it got worse. George Lucas should have just left it alone. He just made it worse.
Leave it alone, George. Go make something new. Get out of here.
It's kind of like J.K. Rowling before J.K. Rowling did J.K. Rowling stuff.
There's a difference between George Lucas adding a rock to R2-D2, and there's a difference between J.K. Rowling changing her sexuality after the fact.
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, George Lucas changed things, and it was really annoying. But J.K. Rowling was changing entire genders and races and stuff. So big difference there. But he was like a more gentle J.K. Rowling, just adding different things and making things he thought would make it better.
Hermione was actually in a wheelchair the whole time.
Yeah, the whole time. Yeah, J.K. Rowling did things for woke points.
There's some things I like about the special editions, and like little details like Cloud City. He opened up a lot of the walls, like either to balconies, or they opened them up to like windows. So now there's like windows showing the outside of Cloud City rather than just having plastic walls there. And that's an addition I like because it's a small detail which makes improvements, but you don't need to just start filling the screen with shit. It's like, here's a CGI effect, here's a CGI effect, here's a CGI effect. No, it's like, okay, well, okay, there's add a little detail. And
at the very least,
get an updated version, an updated Disney version of the prequels.
Oh, I can't wait for that one to come out. But at the very least, we can.
Oh no!
J.K. Rowling made her changes out of woke points. At the very least, I think we could say George Lucas pretty much made his changes out of love. Like he was coming from the right place.
Yeah,
I have no idea what he was trying to do there.
He thought he was making his movies better. He didn't want to just make it for work points.
It's kind of like where
update.
I think the reason why they did the special edition was because he wanted to be able to sell it the original OT without having to go through Fox, because Fox had the license to sell the original trilogy. So what he did, he went around it by making the special edition.
Like a creative person would. That makes more sense.
George Lucas is very, I think, like many artists, he's very critical about his work.
Oh yeah.
So he would often see things like, okay, this, that, and the other. Oh, that needs tweaking. Oh, no. We need to redo that. We need to redo that. Kind of like an artist who keeps rubbing away a line and redrawing it because they're never quite happy.
I think it was. I forgot it was either Bach or Handel. I always get these two guys confused sometimes. But he like used to write stuff, like write entire works, and then just toss it in the fire because he hated it. And his friends were like, no, get it out of the fire. Because to him it was terrible, but to them it was brilliant.
Van Gogh as well was someone who was well known for straight up burning his paintings or just painting over them.
Yeah,
I think there was an examination of one of his paintings, and behind that painting there was another painting.
Yeah, it was some of these artists can be really overdramatic and extreme when it comes to the criticism of their own work, which I can.
Well, no, self-criticism.
Self-criticism.
Well, everyone is their own worst critic, so.
Let's see, Verde, thank you for the 5. SF Debris has a great series looking into the making of Star Wars. It's a lot of great insight. Yeah, SF Debris is really good at this stuff. He actually has a whole thing called, I forget what it was called exactly, but it was about Marvel Comics and how it kind of went downhill. But he doesn't go into like the SJW stuff. He goes into like what actually happened. Like this is what happened, and which led to this, and then this happened. So he goes into like the mechanics and so it's like apolitical. Because SF Debris tries his very best to be apolitical all the time, which is very respectful. I respect him for that. So he doesn't go into the the feminists or whatever. He just goes into what actually happened in the comic book industry from like very early in the years to how it devolved mechanically and business wise into what it kind of ended up as. Let's see here. Okay, so I wonder what other shows they're going to add in. I know they have The Mandalorian. I know they're going to probably do. They might do that Boba Fett one. I don't know exactly. I think
there's rumors about either. It's confusing rumors because we've heard a lot of different things. So the rumors are either there's going to be a sequel to the Clone Wars, there's going to be more Clone Wars, there's going to be a sequel to Rebels, or there's. That's it. Really. I think that's it anyway. So there's a sequel to Rebels, more Clone Wars, or a sequel to Clone Wars. But whatever it is, it's already been confirmed that it's going to be within the Clone Wars style. It's not going to be Rebels because they now have the money to be able to support the Clone Wars art style.
I thought they were doing Squadrons. Star Wars
Squadrons is a game. It's not a.
Oh, is it? Oh,
you didn't know what? What did you think it was?
I just knew that it was a thing. I didn't know a damn thing about it.
Oh, it's a Battlefront 2 where you had the pilot was it Starfighter mode?
Yeah.
It's pretty much going to be that as far as I'm aware. The gameplay hasn't came out yet. The gameplay is supposed to come out today. I'm also making a video on that after the gameplay comes out. But for fuck's sake, Literally Devil just died again. But Star Wars Squadrons is just going to be a fighter simulator game, pretty much. And it's going to also have an option for VR, which I'm pretty excited about because I have, privilege goggles, whatever the fuck they called it.
Privilege goggles.
Privilege goggles.
That's just called.
Oh
yeah.
What about Literally Devil though? He's not white. Depending on the continuity, he's a Shadow Man or he's Latino or Hispanic or whatever the fuck it is these days. I don't know. I don't care.
He's a shadow Latino.
You see, in the darkness of the devil, it's the devil's been Hispanic this entire time. The devil just kind of pops up from hell. It's like, hey, I'm Hispanic, and because he's Hispanic, the wokeness can't do anything about him.
Joke's on you. I'm Jewish.
Like part of the devil's way of causing pain is just being Hispanic to hurt left-wing people.
You can't touch me. I'm Hispanic. Oh no!
And guess what? I'm gay.
Oh shit!
Then all of a sudden, this blast just overcomes them. They're like, no! They all start melting like in the, from Indiana Jones.
I get the feeling that if the devil existed, he would be gay. It just makes sense in my head for some reason.
Well, we'll tell Literal Devil that when he gets back.
It's all about depravity and what have you, yes? So he wouldn't care.
I suppose.
That if we're going with Old Testament devil, of course. I'll ask him next time.
So, how long do you think he'll be up to last when he gets back? Because I think last time it was maybe good for half an hour before he died again.
Yeah. I know one thing. I'm gonna have to get going soon. So,
all right.
We shall see.
Anyway.
Just good news, good stories. Anything new? I kept what we were talking about before Literal Devil came back, and then he changed the topic.
We were talking about the differences in the Star Wars special editions, and
so I guess we'll just go off. So we've
what we were talking about. I actually remember we were basically just talking about. We were debating on whether it is that these creators are focused on destroying masculine heroes versus creating feminine heroes.
Oh yeah,
and then the topic was changed to Star Wars. It just so happened to change to destroying Luke as Literature Devil walked in. It was like Luke Skywalker's essence just emanated off of him as he walked in. It was actually kind of crazy, the timing.
Oh, and the Vong stuff too. Let me just finish off by saying the thing I don't like about the Vong. It's not that they're a rip-off of the Tyranids or whatever, but the idea you're taking everything that's going on in one place, that's a gigantic place with trillions of inhabitants. There's a singular threat that has to consume all of the individual motives and plots of those characters. There's a similar thing in Star Trek called the Dominion War. There's the Borg. There's a lot of things that are like that that can become all encompassing and all consuming and then make it boring. So that was what I was.
You think the Dominion War is boring?
I think that I am in agreement with Mike Stoklasa that it's interesting because it's not overly emphasized as an action sequence. It's about the suspense and the buildup and the proceedings that make the conditions mature into effect. Then you actually get the action. It's not as long and drawn out as people think it should be, based on thinking that most things are just action. That's my problem.
Then it's then not talking about it's more about how they handle it, not the idea of a threat itself being a galactic threat.
No, the problem. What I'm saying is that the problem with having this a threat that encompasses the entire galaxy is it means that there's one overarching plot point that is the center of everything. It's not necessarily like there are you've finished off the Skywalker saga, and now you have the opportunity to tell new stories that are the consequences of the
straight away though. It's the Empire that doesn't jump straight into the
Luke is still alive though, and they basically destroy all of the work that it was going on up to that point and change the entire dynamic of the universe through the effects of the Vong's existence and invasion. It permanently, or maybe not even permanently, but it absolutely interrupts everything that would be going on if they weren't there. It's like a big binary switch that gets flipped. Whereas there's already all these characters. There's the Duros, and you can go with all the the Bosk species, and name a species that you have there, and you can make a political. You have the political dynamics, you have the racial dynamics, you have geography, you have different corporations, and all the different aspects that build the society that already is existent that are going to be creating new and interesting paths for themselves and their people, and crossing and creating contradictions. And that's, to me, is the strength of the potential of after the post Return of the Jedi environment. For the rest of Luke's life, I don't really want there to be another galactic threat that's going to interrupt the progress that was being made from that point, unless it comes from some sort of consequence that's already related to the story. The Yuzun Vong were not in the canon at all before then. There was no inclination that they would be there until it was written in there and retconned that, like what Literature Devil was saying, that there is this navy that's coming in. So that was my main issue, is that it's a foreign thing that is flipping a lot of switches into a machine that's already running and doesn't necessarily you don't need the Vong for anything. There's not like a burning need to have a extra galactic threat that comes from a secret place when you already have the entire thing set up.
I'm curious about what you think of the Ori then from Stargate. If you've seen Stargate SG-1,
I haven't really gotten into Stargate, but it's different.
Because like the idea itself, just of some big threat, I suppose, I don't know why I have a soft spot for it for whatever reason. The idea that people have to come together to overcome some kind of challenge, I don't think that is in itself something which is, you know, a bad for storytelling, because I think there's lots of very interesting stories you can tell as if two factions who don't get along have to work together to overcome this threat.
No, I understand the idea of two factions getting along but it doesn't have to be external to the galaxy. It doesn't have to be a race that has force negation powers and stuff. And I understand that there are political dynamics that are involved in this extra galactic threat, but all of the plot threads that are coming out of Return of the Jedi, that are coming out of the subsequent events, the 10 years afterwards, the 20 years afterwards, the amount of time that is in between, because I don't remember the exact amount of time, but when older Luke has matured and you have all of these things that are in play already, now we're going to introduce an extra galactic threat with new rules and consequences that are going to completely change all of that. To me, you might as well just make a different series. You might as well just make a series about the Yuzun Vong and then have it in a non-Star Wars world. I don't understand the point of that.
So similar to Mass Effect, we have the Threat of the Reapers, which are it's very similar.
I've not read the Star Wars Legends books or anything like that. The expanded universe. Yeah, I'm back. I've returned again. I think we'll close the stream pretty soon, just before I die.
No, there's some more things to cover. There's some more things to cover. We've barely reached 2 hours.
I mean, I do have some more stuff, but I hope the only concern is that I lose the internet connection. I cannot end the stream. That's the
well, you know, we'll just keep going with you popping in and out.
Forever.
I don't know if you want. I could share my screen to like with the article, so that way you don't. I don't know. Even if you do go, we can still keep talking about this thing.
What about the? You want to cover? I think we're doing Doomcock video next.
I'm going to get going, so I'm going to leave you fine gentlemen to it, and I will rejoin you next time.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Voice on the Radio. They were helping hold down the fort.
All right. Well, we'll catch you later, and it was nice speaking with you.
You too. I shall chat to you all then. Goodbye, chat.
Bye-bye.
Now, one thing I've heard about the Star Wars expanded universe stuff is that it eventually got really ridiculous, because what I've heard is that Luke just got more and more and more powerful, and he just kind of became boring after. That's what I've heard. Anyway, I've not read the books.
I'm not a big fan of the actual execution of all of the ideas. I think it's not as interesting as they could be, but I like that they're playing with the ideas. And the fact that even the Vong and all this stuff, even if I don't like it, I don't have to accept it as like my canon or whatever, because the tier system works the way that it does. So it's like, and it is fiction. So like you can pick and choose what you want, because the canon is not maintained at all.
Did you know what I've realized though? If Literature Devil dies while I'm streaming, I can't stop the stream to restart it again. That's what I mean. I can't stop streaming my tab because it's not sharing the screen; it's just sharing the tab. Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm sure it's fine. I think I might be able to just go through just to a different tab. But hopefully it's just my YouTube. I don't think anyone's going to see anything terrible.
Hello, my friend.
Hail YouTube, Dominions,
Just making sure everyone can hear that.
Arch villains. Thank you all for supporting me in my effort to save pop culture. And I would ask you, please make sure you
Always
are
love
still
how
subbed.
enthusiastic
Turn on
you
your
are.
notifications.
Wait, why is a villain trying to save pop culture?
Because pop culture is evil.
Oh, of course. That makes sense.
Why do you think I'm trying to save it?
investigation?
Why do you think we're on the same side? Why do you think Doomcock and I are on the same side? We're both trying to save
Oh,
pop culture because pop
my
culture is evil,
God.
obviously.
So is the devil working with a supervillain?
Yeah, we're the Legion of Doom sort of thing going on.
It's mind blowing.
That's why you're on our side also, Shiny, because you know
I'm a clone.
The clone troopers. You know, haven't you read the 501st Journal? The clone troopers eventually become stormtroopers.
Everybody here is evil.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about that. I'm just that's in the future.
Activate Order 62.
Oh shit! I've got a fucking Scrub Palpatine sweaty ball sack now.
Yeah, that's what Order 62 is. Very terrible order.
Scrub my sweaty balls.
You have to give up on pop culture. That way people will read the Bible more and find their way back to God. That's the whole. We have to destroy pop
that. I'll
culture.
just watch anime.
Entertainment.
Embrace.
Let it go.
Embrace the death of pop culture.
Let's see. So yeah, this is a Star Wars leak. This is a secret plan to save Star Wars. Let's check it out. See what that is.
And if you are not subscribed, please consider doing so. This channel.
I just find it hard to take Doomcock seriously because of how overdramatic he plays it. I know it's for his style, but
Reading. I am Victor Van Doomcock.
All right. Well, pause a second. I'm actually gonna follow that up. I wouldn't be surprised if whenever he does this stuff, he like records his voice separately from when it shows his body moving.
Yeah,
I think that because his voice sounds too clear. His voice sounds too clear. I think that he records his voice and then afterwards moves around in front of the camera.
I'm pretty sure that's what happens. But
what he probably does is he probably says his lines in front of the camera and then he will dub it over.
Because he can speak like that in real time. This is a voice changer. He's done
It's
it on
too good. It's too good. Like there's no way.
But yeah, one thing about Doomcock is he is overly dramatic as part of his style. So
well, that's part of the fun.
Yeah, it's part of the fun. It's a lot of fun because he's super villain and all that stuff. But he is overly dramatic nonetheless. So you have to keep that in mind. Not everything is kind of overblown, and it's a lot of fun. Very old dramatic, but it is over dramatic.
It makes it hard to take him seriously, though. At least for me, like it says, "Oh, I'm Doctor Doom. I'm going to go and I'm going to ruin all the."
And at the end of the video, he posts like his full alias. He puts like, what does he put? Like Dicker Van.
Yeah, his full name is Dicker Von Doomcock. It's fantastic. He said he named himself that specifically to upset feminists. It's a pretty good move.
Like humongous.
Yeah,
they're like, yeah, we don't want you using profanity, and he's like, okay, well then my name is Dick Fuck Shit.
Dicker Von Doomcock. We like some of the verbiage he uses. I really like he called them cultural vandals. What a perfect way to describe these people.
He's very sensational.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I really like his
perfect.
videos.
The ruler of Earth, and I bring you some new information from the front lines of the Lucasfilm Civil War. My friends, as nearly as I can tell, Lucasfilm is in a state of upheaval at the moment as the various factions vie for power, release information designed to discredit the opposing factions, and struggle to seize control not only of Star Wars itself, but the narrative around the franchise. It seems a battle is being waged for the soul of Star Wars, with Kennedy true believers, Lucasfilm loyalists, and Favrovian pragmatists all vying to chart a course forward for that galaxy far, far away. Well, folks, it seems there is an awareness, at least among some of the combatants, that Star Wars is in deep, deep trouble, that they are losing or have lost the fans and have damaged, perhaps irreparably, the universe that George Lucas created. To that end, I've been informed that there is a secret plan to save Star Wars, a plan that will be bitterly resisted by Kennedy and her chaos agents, a plan that could represent a new hope for fans and restore freedom to the galaxy.
Rebellions are
What
built
I'm
on
about
hope.
to share with you is information presented to me by my source, who in turn has cultivated a network of news sources inside the organization. Usually, the difficulty in reporting these stories is how tight-lipped people are when it comes to Lucasfilm and Disney. But now I'm receiving a massive amount of information, and unfortunately, some of it is contradictory. It is my belief that the contradictions in what I'm hearing are either the result of deliberate disinformation, trying in essence to cast a fog of war over what's happening inside Lucasfilm, or it's information designed to counter misinformation from
There we go.
to the public. At this point, all I can do is just use my...
You go ahead and pause the video real quick, Johnny. I just want to read this real quick. Alex Halo, the Mushroom 2. Join the cult of NEP. Game Goddess welcomes all.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what it is either.
It's always fun to join a new cult. I'm always interested in that. But
Just the idea it's a cult. It's fine.
My favorite line from on Colts is from The Office, where he says, what Creed says, you have more fun as a follower, but you make more money as a leader.
That's essentially how cults start, I think. You see how they start to say, okay, cool, I'll get all this stuff.
Not by fighting what you hate, but saving what you love.
Yeah, just by fighting what you love and saving what you hate. That's how you're gonna win.
That was so cheesy.
We know
that line. It was.
We know you don't have to go into it now. We know
they defended so
bad. It was so bad.
We know
they defended so hard too. They defended so hard.
We've been talking about it for like a year now. No.
Like you don't have to tell us how bad it is. We know how bad it is.
It's really, really bad though.
Oh
god. Dismal.
Instead of humbling herself, she was proud of her.
There we go.
Yes.
That's
the dragon. That's chaos. Clean your room.
Yeah, clean your room.
I believe.
I don't know when to start playing or when to stop playing this. I'm just going to stop playing whenever someone's talking. Whenever I believe anyone stop talking.
See, Alex Halo, they mentioned too. NEP is short for Nept. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Oh, the cult to your profile pic. That sounds like why not, right?
Short from Net to my profile pic. Yeah. Okay, so I remember that now.
Simps.
Dr. Crow, thanks for $4.99. Appreciate that. Join a cult. Try the Cult of Crow. Streaming Friday at 2:30 Eastern. Is it okay? Yes, it is. Absolutely.
That's what you're paying to promote your own channel on someone else's stream. So yeah,
I will join your cult if you can present me with certain miracles. Then I will know, and I will be committed, and we will free the human race from the bondages.
Very specific set of
we will activate the spaceships underneath the pyramids.
Can you make the sunrise at sunrise? Is that a miracle you can perform?
Can you halt the sunset or whatever? Can you suspend time?
Yeah.
Turn this into a woman.
You shall identify as a woman. I identify as a woman.
No, it's a reference to Red Dwarf. This man is David Lister is responsible for a cat race of humans because like he had a cat and over millions of years they ended up evolving because he was stuck in stasis. And when he tried to explain that he is the god of their race, like the cat turns around and says, "Your god, turn this into a woman." Powerful. It's like puts a bowl of fucking milk there.
Sounds very British.
It's very silly. It's a very silly show.
So yeah, Lenny the Shark, the Witcher 2. Hope is built on Hope Punk.
No.
Were you here for that one, Glib? I forgot. But Hope Punk.
No, I haven't.
I think it was on the Smudcast. Apparently, it's a new genre called Hope Punk. We learned this term from Movie Bob, and we looked up what Hope Punk is. Apparently, it's a new genre that is supposed to be challenging the age of Trump or something.
Yep.
Wow. And I said, wow, what a wonderful opportunity we're handed here. So this is Hope Punk is an SJW NPC genre that they've made for themselves, which means that's brand new, which means
especially but the line they use is especially. This is important, especially within the era of Trump.
In the age of Trump.
The age of Trump. That's the age of Trump.
In the age of Trump. So what this means
The
is
age of Trump.
And the Trump nation attacked.
So what this means, Glib, is that we can take it over. We can come in, we can take over this genre, we can take it away from them, we can debunk their happiness, and we can siphon those delicious tears. And it's something I'm very interested in. What do you think?
What did that come from? Debunking that, like, someone's trying. We're trying to debunk someone's happiness.
That was AT-AT chat.
Oh, of course, it was AT-AT chat.
They're just trying to debunk my happiness. Like, yes, I love that. Yes, I am. I'm trying to debunk your happiness.
Well, you're the devil. Of course, you're trying to make people unhappy.
Obviously. Now, how's that an insult to me? AT-AT chat.
You know, I need to get with everyone else now to get with the thing of making myself a villain. Yeah, all the 66 happens, and then I'm a villain.
You're a villain anyway. If you commit wrong thing, you're a villain anyway. Might as well embrace it. Let's embrace it.
You know, we're going in there, blasting those clankers, saving lives. Did you not watch Clone Wars?
I did.
Well, I yeah, you did because I forced you into that. I broke out the basement. I forced you in a chair, forced your eyes open, and said, "Watch this."
We went on Clockwork Orange, and it was fantastic. The age of in the age of
Trump.
Lightning.
It's even better with his icon just kind of like face palming, like, oh god. And then Semantic Dragon said, "You joke now, but everything will change when the Trump Nation attacks."
The Trump Nation, everything changed when the Trump Nation attacked. But I believe you could still save the world. I want to take over Hope Punk. I think it's something I really want to do. I want to take over the genre of Hope Punk. I want to claim it in the name of the Toxic Brood. I want to make the HWs cry. That would make me incredibly happy.
If I wasn't so damn peaceful and in line with the Force, I'd get up and I'd smack the shit out of you.
I find it interesting that like they have this whole genre or whatever, and it's they have been spending the last, I don't know, 7 years, maybe 6 years, just trying to destroy all of our hope about all of our shit.
That's why I want to take theirs away.
Hypocritical.
That's why I want to take theirs away. I wanted to fight back against their Hope Punk genres and stuff. I think that'd be fun. It'd be fantastic.
It's like somebody goes out and they go to up to somebody and they start yelling in their face and saying all this terrible shit, and then when the other person hits them, that person gets arrested for assault. It's like they just keep doing everything that they can to annoy you and try and get a reaction out of you. And when you tell them to fuck off, then they go, "Oh my god, why are you like that?" So angry.
I call it the Jeffrey Comer. I call it the Jeffrey
That's
Comer.
what it is. Yeah.
Jeffrey Comer technique. They say call you racist and do all these horrible things to you. Let's say there's horrible things to you that just get under your skin, and you go off like a maniac, yelling at them while they say calm. They look like the reasonable one while you look insane. And so the one sort of Tanya, you're happy. Oh, you're happy, you say? I have a contrary evidence, and you have no evidence. Happiness debunked. Exactly. That's how it goes.
Super chat by the numbers. Only the Avatar could master all genders, could stop him. But then, when the world discovers his tweets from 50 years ago, he was cancelled.
That's fantastic.
Do you know the ironic part is? That's exactly what would happen.
It's exactly what would happen.
Oh, look, there's a hero who's come to save us. Oh, but he tweeted about something 15 years ago. That's cancelled.
Yeah, because as soon as someone gets relevancy, they start digging through his tweets and they say, oh, look, this guy made a remotely, maybe almost racist joke one time 40 years ago.
15 years
Aren't
ago.
they like trying to cancel Domino's Pizza because a Republican ate there in like 2012?
Yeah, and she liked it, and they said, and they had good customer service, and said, yeah.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
They're trying to cancel Taco Bell right now because Taco Bell's dress code won't allow someone to wear a Black Lives Matters mask to work. They fired somebody.
It's called a uniform.
Okay.
Yeah, uniforms don't matter anymore.
Every time they try to cancel a restaurant, the restaurant like doubles its business. Everyone hates these weirdos.
Yeah,
Twitter's not a real life. It's a far left matrix.
And then what about the other one? They're changing the name of the syrup or whatever.
What?
Aunt Jemima. It's Aunt Jemima.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
canceling
Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben's rice.
Yeah, that's right. They're canceling. I don't know about the rice, but I know they're canceling Aunt Jemima.
131 years it's been called that. They wake up one morning, it's time to change.
So if you have Aunt Jemima in your cupboard or your pantry or whatever it is, save that stuff. It's going to become a couple collector's item pretty soon.
Supposedly, yeah. I mean, what is this?
Here we have a relic from before the dark times.
These people they just wake up in the morning and they're like, how can I be fucking nuts today?
And why can't we just stop listening to people on Twitter? Why can't we just stop doing that? Can businesses stop listening to people on Twitter for once?
What if Twitter just shut down one day? What would happen?
Oh, it would be great.
I think people would commit suicide.
The world would
I
be a much better place to
certainly
live.
what?
If
The thing
Twitter
is,
went
like,
down, the world would be a much better place to live. Tell me what's so.
Because I was, my experience with Twitter is that
Just love each other, devil.
I just go on Twitter to like follow some creators and I like some people I know here and a couple other things, and people sometimes tweet at me every now and again asking me questions. I say, oh sure, I'll answer this question. But like a majority of the reason why I don't use Twitter is even though there's like all these good ideas of who you can follow, it comes with so much BS, and it's even to a lesser extent it's still with people in the street. Obviously, not faulting you for anything legit level, but often you do like retweet something that Trump says, or you like Trump's tweet, and that's fine by me. But it's still
I do that.
It's still politics, and it's politics leaking into Twitter, and it's worse with people like Jennifer Hale or Ashley Eckstein or Jerry Ryan or Robert Picardo. I'm trying to think of all these people. I follow these actors because I like their work and I want to see what they're up to. But then the Twitter, they just fill it with absolute garbage and nonsense, and that's just because Twitter
is garbage and nonsense.
When you make a YouTube video, it takes time. You have to put time and thought, and it's not just something. When you're typing a tweet out, it's just what your thought is in that particular moment. You don't even it's mostly impulse, and you don't think about it too much. So
yeah, and those 12 seconds completely obliterate businesses.
Yeah, and it's just, I think people in general, everyone's fault. To some degree, everyone's fault of this, even me. They'll just throw something into Twitter without really thinking about it, just in the moment, and it'll end up being something which it's not. Maybe it's not the best thing you could have said at the time. And to an extent, this is even to Mauler, because the way Mauler has like responded to some people on Twitter is like where he's. Maybe he has the right to react to, I don't know, Patricia Taxon or Quinton a certain way on Twitter because of how they've been reacting to him. But at the same time, maybe it's not the best to, stir trouble by making insults across Twitter, like what AT Chat has been doing with us in this webcast.
Well, AT has fun. I really like this debunk my happiness thing. I ran with that one. That one's good. I like that. It made me happy.
Somehow it feeds into the idea of us versus them mentality still. I guess because there's less thought being put into it, and it just kind of doesn't really help bridge the gap if people are just snapping at each other and just saying the first thing on their mind rather than maybe being a bit more diplomatic. Because another thing as well is that you're not directly addressing this person. If you were directly addressing this person in a DM or in a one-to-one conversation, you might, if AT Chat was here talking with us right now, he wouldn't say we're trying to debunk his happiness. He would put it in a much different way because he's talking to us directly and not sniping at us from Twitter. Because when he's on Twitter, he's not directly talking to us. He's talking to his fans, and he can say shit about it to his fans, even though in the thing he's saying something towards Smud or myself or you or Glib.
Well, that's what happens. Have you ever seen two YouTubers like snipe each other on Twitter, and then they go to a live stream to debate it out? And sometimes it's a yelling match, but sometimes it's this "Hey, how you doing?" and we're gonna hash this out, and it ends on good terms, it's because it's a lot different talking to each other on Twitter than it is on a live stream, or where it's more personable.
Any conversation one to one.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah, like on Twitter, you may as well be looking out at an audience from the top of a stage.
It's easy to yell at. It's like kind of how Anita Sarkeesian, she kind of yelled at Sargon from the stage, but you know, when you're on a platform looking down at someone, you talk much differently to when you're actually on the same level with them in a conversation.
Exactly.
And even when you're on the same level as someone in a conversation, you might get a similar circumstance to Xander and Geeks and Gamers when they were both on the Smudcast. You know, when we invited them both on, and it was very difficult to, because I think Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers was, he came in relatively fine. He was, you know, I think he was relatively open-minded, but the moment Xander started, you know,
Jeffrey
throwing accusations, and he started, pretty much Xander, from the moment he stepped into that call, his mind was set. He wasn't going to look at Jeremy as another human being who just has a different point of view or believes. He just views him as a react. He's just this, that, and the other. He's not a person to him anymore. He's just, or you know, in his mind, Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, he's evil. He's not. He's not a person. He's just an antagonist almost.
Yeah, from my experience with the BreadTubers, my entirety of my experience with BreadTubers has been their buy-in is ignorance. They can't be a BreadTuber unless they've embraced ignorance and hate intellectualism or nuance. It's just not something they can do. If you embrace nuance, you can't be a BreadTuber.
Whenever you, I just kind of say this to people in general, and this is my idea when I go into discussion. Even if who you're talking to in this discussion is someone who you very much disagree with, and even if you believe that they are dishonest or disingenuous, you still have to go into the conversation. If you're going to have a fair discussion, you need to go in with the mentality that this is another human being who believes what they believe, and you're someone who believes in what they believe, and then you move forward from there. You don't initially go out and you say, you know, you don't have a set mind. You're not here to attack this person, because ultimately they're just another person here to have a conversation. And if you don't think of it like that, then you're not really going to get anywhere with this other person. It's just going to de-evolve like it did with Xander.
Yeah, that's why you don't really, people don't really take BreadTubers seriously. That's all they're not there for discussion. They're there for a change people's minds. They're there to demonize you. Vosh, Xander, all those people, the same exact. That's why you get an instance where Vosh tried to cover my video and I debunked all of his talking points in the video that he's covering. So I debunked all of his talking points a year before he even made them, which is why I said while we covered that one, maybe you should have watched my video before you started making these points, because I debunked every single thing that you said in the video. It's kind of embarrassing for Vosh. But it was
when people are asking why when people ask me why we call them bread tubers, I often say is that it's because their brain is the same fluffy, bubbly inconsistency of bread.
I forgot what the real reason was. It was like something to do with communism. It was something to do with communism, like the bread lines or something like that. I forgot what it was exactly.
Yeah, but still, it's like I just say it's because their brain is the same fluffy consistency.
And they can't. It's less spongy though, so it does absorb. It's like at least bread can absorb something new. Their brains cannot. It seems like. If you want to stick with that analogy, as you go, Lenny the Shark, they went to the 5.
It's usually bubbles in air. That's what it is.
Yeah. Can we please have a moment of silence for Paw Patrol? Yeah, they didn't hear about that. They wanted to cancel one of the puppy characters on Paw Patrol because he's a cop.
Well, that sounds like some kind of kid show.
It is a kid show. It's like one of those really little kid shows. But they
what? They want to cancel a character of a kid show based on the fact he's a cop.
Yeah, he's a little doggy cop. But he's a cop, so he has to be canceled.
I guess next we're gonna have to stop Fireman Sam. He's someone who works for the government. You can't have that these days. A hero who goes out and saves people. Do you know how many people have been fucking inspired by Fireman Sam?
A lot of people.
A lot of kids. children like look up at that and they think, oh my god, Fireman Sam's such a hero. He's out saving lives. He saved a kitten from a tree. You know, he's saving people from burning buildings. I want to do that one day. And then, you know, little Tommy grows up and, you know, he ends up going in and he ends up volunteering at the fire station because he wants to do some good. That's amazing. It's similar with police, like these great cop characters on kids shows or not. They inspire people, especially kids.
Yeah, they're usually portrayed as the best of their kind. So what a fireman's supposed to be, that's what the kind of fireman you're going to see in a kid show. The kind of cop is supposed to be. Same thing.
I don't care like so much what you think of cops, because that's a very much complex subject. But the ideal of what a cop should be,
exactly,
and that is what is represented a lot of the time. Is that is totally fine, and that they're pretty much just going after him purely for the fact it's a cop at this point.
The DJ and Voices, Vosh's chat probably didn't know LD enough for him to get his info right. They didn't. In fact, the funny thing about that is, as you continue down his coverage of my video, his chat starts. Some people in his chat start turning on him because like, wait a minute, this is correct. What are you talking about, Vosh?
Ironic. He could try to slander others, but ended up slandering himself.
My favorite part of his coverage of my video is that he pauses my video to say, all these guys, the definition of Mary Sue for these guys, like Literature Devil, it's just, it's a woman. Okay, they'll never call a male character Mary Sue. Presses play, and it goes, and then the part of my video that plays exactly right after that happens is, oh, so here's an example of a Mary Sue. Wesley Crusher.
Yes.
Immediately after that, they'll never call a male character Mary Sue. Oh, so Wesley Crusher is Mary Sue, and then he starts arguing that Wesley Crusher is not a Mary Sue. This is the extent to where the people's go. So I always have to be wrong, even if he contradicts the stuff he argued for earlier. So that happens multiple times in the coverage of my video.
Whenever we watch someone we're disagreeing with, if they ever say something right, you know, we're not. You know, we say yes, that's fine. Yeah, he said something right. We admit that, you know, this person is saying something right for once. But for Vosh, it just seems that, this guy said something, immediately disagree. Let's go. You know, gotta immediately attack what he's saying. It doesn't matter what he's saying is true or false.
Like that's exactly right.
It's kind of like a mentality against parties these days. One party will often just attack something or disagree with something purely because the other party is saying or doing something.
Did you ever see someone did an experiment and they said they put Hitler quotes, but they said Hillary Clinton said them? Or
something like my god, I want to see that now.
And so they said like, I think it was Hitler quotes or something like that. Either that they did Trump quotes, but just told them like this is a quote by Hillary Clinton or something. And so they're going on these campuses and like these far left places. And they go, they read out a Hitler quote and said, "Here's a quote from Hillary Clinton." And they said, "Okay, here's what she said." And there's like a Hitler quote, and said, "Yeah, that sounds good to me." It was either Hitler or it was Donald Trump. So like they said, I think they did both. I forgot what it was, but it was pretty fun.
They're only agreeing with it because it's Hillary Clinton. That's the problem. That it's this kind of party group mentality of just agreeing with someone because they happen to agree with you on other things rather than, you know, thinking for yourself. And I've been guilty of that thinking like past when I kind of back when I was like very, I don't know, social justice and even after that when I was very anti-social justice, I kind of had the mentality of anything social justice says, I'm just going to rash against it no matter what, even if what they're saying is true. But then I just kind of
It's interesting, actually. Usually when I'm at school, I kind of have to pick my battles with my professors. Otherwise, I'll be confronting them every other statement. And
that's something I've done as well. When it comes to my the he hell should not be named who called me sexist for not liking a fucking film. You definitely have to pick your battles with them, because especially since they hold all the power in the classroom.
See, Hex Harper.
I remember at one point. Oh, go ahead.
And the Hex Harper, thanks for 499. Appreciate that. My comic entry is close to completion. Oh, fantastic! Can't wait to show you. Hope you enjoy it. Oh, I look forward to it. It's gonna be awesome. Awesome.
Hopefully, you do it okay the way that you do it.
I'd like to look at it too. But anyway, I had a professor, and I was talking about the news with said professor, and I was saying how, and this was publicly in front of the class. I said the issue with the news is that a lot of it is very inaccurate and far left. And what happens is it has a tendency to manipulate people that don't happen to perform the necessary research to understand what exactly is being referenced. So sometimes information, scholarly articles, what have you, will be inaccurately represented in the news report. And she was like, well, maybe that's just your experience. That doesn't mean that it's everyone's experience. And I didn't even know what to say because I didn't expect her to take that route. I was like dumbfounded that she took that route. I was a little more naive back then. I didn't expect her to, because her argument is that I was being egocentrical.
Whoa.
And I didn't know how to respond because I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting we were going to maintain this path of logic and not taking things personally. And so when she said that, I actually didn't know what to say because I was still learning to articulate myself at the time. And I was just kind of dumbfounded. I was like, I couldn't really believe that she said that. You know what I mean?
You know, one of my tutors once accused me of, well, the tutor, the fuckwit tutor, who I fucking hate the most, ended up saying that when I have a discussion with someone, apparently I bully them. It's like, so what do you mean I bully you? It's like, oh, well, you know, you just attacking my the fucker. That's what an argument is.
You're debunking my happiness, Shiny. You're debunking my happiness.
You're just, you know, as soon as I say something, yes, because what you're saying is wrong. I correct you.
When I was, it was actually a gender study class. Don't ask me why I put myself through that.
Why?
But
why?
I got much better at debating with people from that class because of how she was just always wrong. And I had to, it was almost like a game to me because I had to not only choose my battles for the purpose of being able to convey to her, you know, what things were important to get right. It was also that I needed the classroom to not take for granted my objections, because if I was to contradict her at every turn, it would no longer be of value, and I would no longer it's likely I would no longer be taken seriously because they'd be like, oh, there he goes again, contradicting her. Don't listen to him. And luckily that didn't happen because I was able to sort of moderate what I was objecting to and what I wasn't objecting to, and exactly how much credit I gave her. And another thing that happened there was not only did I get better at articulating myself, but I've come to notice, actually, I feel like this secondary lesson is kind of coming more from here than on there in that class. But it's like when public speaking, I've come to notice, actually, it kind of transfers to just about everything that I do. I think that when it comes to a lack of experience with something, what I'll tend to do is I'll be very insecure about my ability to do it. And I suspect that with experience will come security. And the thing is, I don't want to artificially induce a sense of confidence in myself without having gone through the experience, because I notice that when I attempt to do that, I don't become confident, I become arrogant.
It's kind of an easy trap to fall into.
It is. It's a surprisingly easy trap to fall into.
There's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. It's like pride and hubris. Pride is fine. Hubris, however, that comes before the fall. Let's see here. Lancelot 652, thank you for the 5. Trevor Noah said we should have people like the Ghostbusters instead of cops because they don't have guns.
What?
I mean, it's just, I always find it interesting when you have a John Oliver or a Trevor Noah that come from another country and then they get here and they have a job and they immediately start to tell people how they should have their country.
Yeah.
Like, who are you again? You're just some guy.
People who can afford, to buy their own security detail and have their own mansions and stuff. I
don't even like to go that far. I just don't like. I'm just like, who are you? Did you just become a citizen yesterday? Like, well, why don't you stick around for a little bit before you stick your nose into the business of it and figure out where you are? I thought we're supposed to assimilate.
I
don't go to your country and tell you how to do shit.
Well, it's not so much a fact of what country they're from. It's more what they're saying rather than how they're saying.
No, it is.
Because
it's
you know what,
stupid for you to come from another country, no matter where you are, and then go, "Hey, I want to come and live in your country. I want to be like you." But you know what? You need to change all this. What are you talking about?
Like, well, do you think it's fair for me to say things about America despite only being there once for 2 weeks?
No.
You don't think it's fair for me to point out these problems? Because for me,
it's not fair for me to. It's as fair for me to make like meme arguments about how the British Empire should have been something else.
It's not meme. No, if we're talking about actual arguments, we're not talking about meme arguments.
And
for me, it's more about we're trying to figure out if what you're saying is right rather than talking about your background, because then you're just.
I don't understand how it's somebody's business. How somebody can come in here and to like. You move to a place and you want to change those customs of the place that you wanted to move to, which is a better circumstance than where you're coming from. Because if it isn't, why are you going there?
Well, people have lots of reasons.
I think it's a classic example of a lack of ethos.
Well, for John Oliver, I believe it's more just because there's a bigger audience and there's more money for him in America than there is in the UK. In the UK, he's pretty much never been heard of. No one knows who John Oliver is.
You know what? I'm wrong about that. It's more specific than that.
Well, I just like the idea of I remember what's his name, Patton Oswalt. He came out and he was chastising people for wanting to go back to work. And I remember that he was saying, "Why can't you just all sit back in your houses and watch Netflix and order takeout?"
I think that a lot of people, they think that just because they're qualified to make decisions in one place, for some reason they suspect that automatically makes them equally qualified to make equally large and significant decisions in completely different places. And it's not true.
Yeah, I mean, I think Gordon Ramsay, for example, had a show about because Gordon Ramsay is like one of the most famous chefs of all time. He's like the icon of quality. But he exactly.
I actually love the way he handles children.
Yeah,
I love the way he handles when children cook something, because you think he's going to be a dick and then he's not a dick and you're like, oh, that's sweet.
Because he's actually nice. He's actually a nice guy, believe it or not. He's just he's really passionate about his food. Like
the way that he handles children is brilliant, because the way that he speaks to them is he makes them want to become more competent. If you were to watch one of the shows where it's children learning to cook something, those contests, you'll see what I'm talking about.
The reason why he's so hard on the food industry is because it's a very important industry. And because if you poison, if you give someone a toy and it breaks, well, who cares? It's a broken toy, get the money back. But when it comes to a meal, this meal could possibly poison someone and this meal someone is paying for something which is supposed to be higher quality than what they can just get from home. And because of these risks that are involved when it comes to food, he becomes a lot more passionate about it. And because, the food industry is a big industry as well. But moving back to what Glib was talking about, it's like, I still believe that as long as you're making some kind of competent argument that's well informed, I don't think it matters where your nationality is from specifically. If you make an argument for why this is why something should be done this way, and you have enough reason behind that argument and enough examples, and you basically put forward an argument. You don't just say this, that, and the other. Then you should be completely fine to, for an Englishman to say something about America if they know what they're talking about. Similar how it would probably be fine for an American to say something about England if they knew what they were talking about as well.
That's what I'm saying.
Here's
is
the
that
thing
somebody comes into a country in a way where they are getting an entertainment news providing position, which is like a commentary position. The idea is that they're going to be funny, they're going to be insightful, they're going to say things that are philosophically witty or whatever they're going to do. When that person starts to lecture the population that's been there, that's defined the culture, and the culture doesn't inherently have anything wrong with it in that aspect.
Well, then the problem is he's lecturing and he's not making arguments and he's not talking from a place of knowledge.
Well,
It's not-
what I'm saying is that the trend is people that come from other countries that are doing it on Comedy Central. It's not
But
just
you have-
John
but you have-
Oliver.
I
it's not
agree.
just Trevor Noah. It's also Samantha Bee. They all come from other places and try and tell Americans how to live their life. And I find
But then
that
I agree.
hypocritical because
in
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Nobody's rushing from America to go to the smaller market in your country. You're rushing to come to this market. You're being given this great opportunity. And then you come in here and you say, you know, it needs to be more like the Ghostbusters. Like, how did you get the job again?
But then, no, but Glib,
Yeah.
you also get people from your own country that also do the exact same thing, and they do it even though they're still from America.
I 100% agree with you, but I just find it more bizarre and outstanding. Like if somebody that's stupid that's from America, it's
No, but
like
they're still making the
that's
same
but
argument.
they have the same experience as I do, at least in that they've been here for more than a couple years.
There's
But
also another difference.
Same
There's
argument.
also one more difference there. So is somebody cutting out here?
No, you can go.
Oh, for some reason I heard somebody cutting out. Okay. So anyway, the other difference is that when someone from another country comes here, they're comparing us to a hypothetical better America. Whereas when someone from here goes there, they're comparing that to what they've seen here. At least we're comparing it to something that exists. At least it's something that's tangible. But when you get into like hypothetical thoughts, when you get into these hypothetical ideas, then you end up saying things that don't exist yet. Like every society is flawed. Every business could improve, but at least we have something to compare it to.
Well,
I think
what I'm talking about more along the lines of is not dismissing someone based on their nationality. As I don't dismiss what Glib says because you know you're American.
But you would never want to listen to me about what life is like in Swindon because I have no idea.
Exactly.
I have no idea what Soweto is like. I've never been there in my life. But I've spent a lot of time in California. You want to ask me about California issues, but then you get a guy from Northern California, and he's going to have more to say about Santa Cruz because it's knowledge.
Say you come from
knowledge.
Say you come from a city that has no crime, and you look at a city over in the UK that theoretically has a lot of crime. It's practically Gotham City, and so if you look at this place and look at this place and say, oh, okay, so the problem is over here that there's not enough money in the police. The police aren't well equipped enough. They're not this. They're not that. They need to be improved. It's fair for you to go over there and say these arguments as long as you're putting forward reason and you're not lecturing like Stephen Colbert and all these other people are. I know Stephen Colbert's American, but still.
Colbert annoys me. I used to think he was funny. Now he annoys me.
Because Stephen Colbert is making the exact same arguments as Trevor Noah and fucking John Oliver. It's despite the fact they're still having the same nationality. It's just the fact that they're, as you said, lecturing people and not making these arguments on how it can be improved like you theoretically would be if you came to the city and said, hey, look, your police need to be better equipped. They need to be, better funded. You need more of them in this place, that, and the other, because you're speaking from a place of knowledge and understanding.
I think it kind of boils down to at the very end of the day, it was like, it's the difference between, this is how it should be, like, for example, in a person saying, this is how it should be because I know better than you, and the difference between that and here's why I think it should be this way. And then, because I know Americans get to criticize about this all the time because I don't know, sometimes sometimes Americans can be pretty arrogant about this sort of stuff. So they go around and say, oh, you should have this, and that over there. And it's like, and
I hate that.
It's not the culture over there. But it's a difference between here's how I think it should be, and I'm gonna give you an argument, and what like Trevor Noah and all those guys do is like, it's how it should be, instead of this is how I think it could be improved if he did this.
I found I've also heard people from America say, oh, if you want to solve crime, English police need guns. Oh, you need this, you need that, you need this over here in the UK. when I've heard people make the same lecturing, and just how I've heard people over here say, talk about America and say, oh, America, it's it's got the worst education system, which I mean is probably factually true. Then
But see that's like that's the reason why I don't want to hear foreign people tell me what it is, because it's like you don't know, you just fucking riffing off of a meme of American education being bad. That's not an actual fact argument. So
if we're going to,
hold on a second, because what I'm trying to say is that it's a pattern. I'm describing a pattern. You can take it however you want. You can add Cenk Uygur, he's from Istanbul. You can add Hassan Piker, he's from New Brunswick, New Jersey, but he was raised in Istanbul. They're foreigners. Now you can say, oh, look, I'm a foreigner too. Who are you to say you can't tell me what to do? And I'm saying you can say whatever you want. That's part of the culture. But what I am saying is that it sounds ignorant coming from someone who most of their life has been in another country. Plus, they have all of the privileges of a high-class person in our country and none of the experiences of the people who need the things that they don't understand.
God damn, Glib.
It's that it's more because you're pointing out the nationality. I think it's perfectly fine. Again, I could point to the American education system. I can point out these problems and say, student loans are far too expensive, and the interest rates are incredibly stupid, and people spend their entire lives trying to pay them back. If you compare this to the English education system with our student loans, you don't have to pay them back until you're earning over a certain amount, which means if you're not currently in a high-paying job, you still are able to put bread on the table. You can still live your life normally. And the interest rates are much lower, and so are the actual prices to get into university. And the actual quality of the university is much more standardized across the entirety of the UK. In America, the education system is nowhere near as standardized as the organizations like UCAS aren't quite as prominent. And so,
but this is for us to decide, not for you to decide.
No, but
because it's not really your business. You're not an American. It's none of my business what Oxford or Cambridge does. I just forward the argument that you would forward so that we can have a dialogue between different groups. But what I am suggesting is that there's people that are coming from other places trying to tell people who've set up a system or have a certain way of doing things how they should do things. I'm not saying that you can't come here and do whatever it is that you want to do. I'm saying as a person that is a native born son here, it seems hypocritical to me because it's something that I would never do. I would never go to Japan and tell Japanese people how to change their culture without integrating to the point where they believed it. And I don't think that they would. Unlike Japan, or unlike half of the cultures of the places that I keep hearing from, this stuff about, you can fully integrate and become an American. Anybody can be an American, which is why it's so ridiculous to me that people want to make it different from that idea. That's all. And this was just about the super chat thing. I think that anybody can have a conversation with anybody about anything. I don't like it when people from other countries and from other points of view that are not American get involved in American domestic politics. Even if it's media oriented or if it's just about spreading a message, I find it to be disingenuous on a certain
It's deceitful.
level. Yeah. That's all. And I understand it's about we're talking about media and stuff, but this was just about
we were kind of, me and you are talking about different things. As you're talking more about politics, like you're talking about I don't know, Trevor Noah talking about Trump, where I'm more talking about criticizing certain elements of say America, for example. As we're just pointing out with the education system, where I think it's perfectly fair to throw criticisms at a certain country, and as long as you're making arguments and you're lecturing about how things should be.
I think it all boils down to the same thing. Don't just come in assuming you know everything.
Well, here's the thing. I think that when I agree with everything Glib just said, I don't disagree with a single thing he said, but there's one thing I do need to give Shiny credit for. And that is when he was referring to our education system, everything Shiny said, I don't like it, but everything Shiny said was a fact. We do have an inferior education system, everything. But I think that what Glib was referring to, which there may or may not have been some miscommunication, I think that what Glib was referring to was First of all, Shiny was talking about how, we can point out these fundamental differences, which is what I think he was just saying, right? And Glib's response is yes, but we can't just to put your two arguments together. Yeah, we can point out those fundamental differences, but someone that doesn't understand what it means to be a middle-class American can't talk about how to fix those differences.
Well, it's how it works. But
we can point them out. We can.
Romeo's crying. Fucking assholes.
Dr. Crow,
but
Dr. Crow.
Let's get back to
politics.
I agree.
But this is so good.
No, it's good. But we'll do it. We'll do it another time because we're pushing it already. So let's get Doomcock and let's.
Ow! Shut up, Will.
Shut up, Wesley. Let's do this.
I just believe in and as long as you are making a valid argument, I don't really care what education you've had or where you're from or your background. As long as you're making proper argumentation, I believe you have something valid to say.
Yeah,
I am a Pepe supremacist.
Yes. Anyway, let's see what Doomcock has to say about the secret plan to save Star Wars.
Oh yeah, sorry if I spoke a little fast as well. It's when I get into debating mode, I get really fast and I start talking about things, and I start talking about the education system, and I start.
I don't think it's as bad as you think.
I
don't think it's as bad as you think.
Yeah, I'd love to answer this one because it's simple.
To fix Star Wars.
all you have to do to actually fix Star Wars is gain control of the canon and retcon it, and then you're good to go, because that'll release so many valves, and you can just say this is all non-canon. Then you can have all these Star Wars fans come flooding back in, and then you have all this opportunity, and we can go, all right, let's fix the damage together, and you can make an entire 10-year expanse of storytelling that's just about healing the divide and moving past and rewriting what happened in between 6 and 7 and getting that 30 years done. We could do it. And we could do we saw Mark Hamill in Star Citizen, so it makes perfect sense that we could do maybe some sort of Unreal Engine driven, I don't know, maybe hybrid Star Wars video game movie type thing. And who knows what limitless potential we have. But it's not going to happen until somebody with the balls, somebody like Ethan Van Sciver or something, gets in charge.
Yeah, the passion. Like I always say, the baseline for a fan is passion. So I think any fan at any level of passion could do a better job writing and directing Star Wars than the current administration. Kathleen Kennedy and the Lucasfilm, all that good stuff.
They're going to sit there and go, it was because of COVID. We don't know what happened. It's just suddenly coming. No. Left-wing activists came in and decided to take over this industry, spit in your faces, and destroy what you loved. Wake up.
Yeah, I think it starts small. I think it starts small.
They just stop. If they could just stop applying themselves, and then stop the activism. Less activism, more focus on character and story.
Actually, when I say start small, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about us. I'm talking about people on YouTube that care about it. Like, remember when you were talking about there hopefully being some kind of movie gate? What if it was something smaller than that? What if it was there was like a film gate where we just had this massive, just to slap a label on a movement, where there's just this massive influx of producers that want to assist in the financial development of independent fan films.
Not fan films. Here's the thing. The alternative to this is that you need to create new IPs. And to do that, you need to create larger productions. The real issue is that Hollywood is a stratified industry, and it's kind of held up by these unions that have bargaining powers. And right now they are trying to monetize systems that we already are operating on and that are trying to push us away from. Like this, what we're doing on YouTube with super chats, having good conversations, creating content, educating people, having discussions and debates where we have differences of opinion and we walk away and we learn stuff. They want to monetize that because they're making less money per month. What they're doing is think about Netflix is charging people.
How do we fight that?
No, it's not. What I'm saying is that the reason why there's an issue with a movie gate or a film gate compared to a comics gate is comics gate, it's more affordable for you to produce a product.
Yeah, exactly.
It takes less people. The thing
That's why I'm
about
saying
film
short.
gate
That's
has
why
to-
I'm saying small films, like a 10-minute fan film, like that Obi-Wan thing.
I would say
Problem with
animation
fan films
is
is
the
that
way
you
to start.
You
I think
can't
you're right.
make back from a fan film because
Not-
you just you can put money into it, but you can't get money out of it.
No, you
And
don't
if
want to
you're-
do fan stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you do is what we as an audience really need to do is be okay with letting go of the brand, but not letting go of what the meaning and
The
the
ideas.
storytelling, the ideas, and allowing new people to step in and allowing ourselves to accept new IPs.
You're
that
saying
replace the old
IPs that are
ones.
similar to Star Wars.
Yeah. We don't need Star Wars. What we need is a space western. What we
Yeah.
don't need
The heart and
Yeah.
soul
you
of
know.
Star Wars. Something like
I
Star Wars,
agree.
the legacy of Star Wars.
talking
I
similar
agree.
to the lines of what the Orville did for like Star Trek. It's pretty much Star
Yes,
Trek. And
I agree
fans
100%.
that because even though it wasn't the IP itself, it was the heart of Star Trek.
Yes. And so like the actual complexity of trying to build an alternative Hollywood would be too difficult for the grassroots people, I think, on a monetary scale. What has to happen is a momentum.
I
And it
think
has
what
to
you're
be a
saying is
change.
perfect.
I think it was starting with the Shadiversity a little bit, because that's what's going on with him. He's getting his
Mhm.
one of his books made into a short film, like at least maybe some of it. I'm not even sure all of
Excellent.
it, but some of it's like I think it's gonna be 15 minutes long. But it's an independent production company, and Shadiversity, of course, is an independent creator. I don't think he's published. I think he does it. He published his own books, I think. But it's kind of the start of it. It's not a work that's it's not a short film based off of like a giant franchise. It's a short film based off someone's own novel, The Shadow of the Conqueror, and so it's an independent creator getting a independent short film, done and created by an independent production company. That's their goal. That's their stated goal, is to show us that independent production companies can be just as good as Hollywood productions. So we're kind of seeing that right now, a kind of a MovieGate sort of thing going on with Shadiversity's book and the movie being created.
But we
about
can't
that.
call it Moviegate until somehow it becomes collected and put in
giant
the same
movement.
place.
Well, that'll come if there's some sort of the tower has not fallen enough yet. It's not crumbling. It's not like people are walking away. And
Yeah.
what's happening right now, I'll tell you, is that there are so many people that are on calls that are talking to each other behind the scenes, trying to figure out how people are going to get back to work. So just so you know, and everybody knows where we are, we're not back yet. The negotiations have, the negotiations will short. No, they're not. They're ongoing. It's like the Senate from the PT right now. People can't decide on what they want to do. There's too much insurance issues that have to do with if people get sick or not. And then on top of that, you have a lot of people that are in Hollywood that I was just talking about this the other day, that are not craftsmen and they're not passionate about the material. So instead of having somebody who's really experienced in film production being the person that's the one greenlighting, it's just some guy that has an MBA and comes from another brand sector. And it's like, oh, we just put that guy in there. Doesn't really know anything about film, doesn't know how to pick the right producers for whatever. They're basically reading the trade magazines and then picking the most famous or the most rich person or whatever it is that they're doing. I don't know. But there's a disconnect. So what has to happen is there has to be some sort of linking between the audience and between people that walk away from this large thing and that want to build a new Hollywood. But you also need you need rich people to want to do this too, or people that are that want to donate into it, that want to build a new physical location, or that want to fully invest into these virtual sets that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
I see. Hatch Profile OSX. They mentioned the two. I heard Sunsworn movie from all that. Yeah, so that's what I think needs to happen. We need more of this stuff. We need Shadiversity getting his book into a short film is amazing. We need more of this, and that will eventually, I think, snowball into something much larger, much more grand. Maybe we have like a big movement coming in where like independent creators like Shadiversity get are getting their own movies and their own films, and people are liking it. And remember, Shadiversity's his short film was, I think, funded fully in about 8 days or so. So there is a market for this. There is a hunger for to see something new, something free of the Hollywood nonsense. And
it's even better because you can possibly, well, even though Shadiversity is even kind of admitted in films, you do need to stretch the realism because most sword fights themselves do end up taking a couple of it's a couple blocks, a couple hits down, it's over. But in film, it does require to be take it a little bit longer. But he knows what would make more logical sense in an actual fight. Which is why I think he's a great asset. Well, he would be a fantastic asset for any choreography, any choreographer in any film. He would be able to go look at some sword fighting and think, okay, that spin doesn't make any sense. But what you could do is you could try it this way, and he will demonstrate with his own sword, and he'd be like, oh, well, actually, that looks a lot better, because when you have a believable fight, it makes the stakes and the tension so much more than people in The Last Jedi doing a dance, where they kick one person and 3 people get kicked over, where you stab your sword into the ground and 3 people go for that sword in the ground rather than your head, where someone throws their fucking weapon away before running in to get stabbed, or where someone just holds their hand in place and stands still while Rey just murders them.
It sounds to me like what we need to do is salvage a genre from a fallen franchise. Like, it sounds like what Glib was saying is that while we have Disney that wants to kill the past, and what they're killing is the meaning behind the franchise, but they want the franchise to live on. The perfect counter to that, I think Glib is saying, is for us to let the franchise die, but have the meaning behind it live on.
I see Nova Zero. Says Nova Zero says, "Gay FanWorks is doing free labor and stoking sputtering flames. Fandom passion just keeps bringing people back. It hurts, but stop it. Do something new. Big IPs will fail. Move on." It's a passion that the fans are putting into FanWorks, but they can't get anything from it. They're doing free labor for the franchise who should be doing the work on their own, but they're not. They're failing.
I'm not sure I quite agree with this comment of, it's like the fan films are a way for fans to express their passion.
Absolutely.
And
great fan films
so it's not about the attention, and it's not about making money to them. It's not even about the fact it's Star Wars. They don't care about stoking flames. They care about expressing their passion for an IP, and they want to do something with that. They want to turn their passion into something which people can enjoy, and that's what I can totally understand, because that's what I love doing too. I love making things which will be enjoyed by people. It's just great.
You know what it is? I'm going to tell you right now. Taking together everything that everybody just said, like with the using animation and everything, we need people to be a non-corrupted version of Rooster Teeth, because they started with Halo. And then they made an IP with Ruby.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's all
it's like that. You just have to not become a sick fuck along the way.
Yeah, but here, let me just break that down. So what you need is the momentum of having the audience, and then being able to build a product that has money, and those two things come together, and that creates a value, and then you can get more people involved based on that.
Rooster Teeth built their original audience off of Halo. And then after they built their initial audience from Halo, they started to expand. I watched Red vs. Blue before I ever played a Halo game.
It doesn't have to be Halo, though. What it has to be is it has to be cheap content that attracts a large audience, that gives people confidence and interest in the idea of more content. And then you get money from another source to support that. What that deal is could change based on the direction the industry is going in. So that's as far as I can say right now.
See, Matthew J.
The problem is that it's
Matthew
Rooster Teeth itself. Okay,
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the thing with Rooster Teeth is that they were allowed to make money off of Red versus Blue, by Microsoft, 343, and Bungie.
I think
So
actually
that
shared
they
assets.
love
Because
Yeah,
Bungie is amazing.
they shared assets for when it came to season 10. They had a sort of like a working relationship where Red versus Blue was allowed to sell Blu-rays and DVDs and merchandise, even though they were using the Halo Mjolnir helmet and armor on T-shirts. They were still allowed to make money from it. They didn't even have to pay a commission, and that was because at the time they knew that this was good. It was good for the fandom to create things and to prosper from these things, and it basically fed back into the passion. And it's what George Lucas originally did when it came to fan films, where he started sharing the sound effects from the original films to allow people to make these things of passion, because a fan base is one of the most critical things when it comes to making a franchise, and the fan base is ultimately built on passion.
And the thing is, there are developments in America and even Japan alike that have values like that. Like, I think that Fate lets people do that. The people behind the Fate franchise, Type Moon, I think they let independent creators make stuff with their characters.
Mm-hmm.
The same way that Bungie did with Red versus Blue. And it's like, I don't know. I just, I guess that's all I can say at the moment.
See, Matthew Chip Nimnall, thank you much for the 5. Space question, you say? Well, mine's on Amazon at the moment. I could use new readers. JP Starwind series. That sounds fantastic. It's
illustrated.
Check it out. Awesome.
Already.
When it comes to
Best of luck.
When it comes to Rooster Teeth specifically, it's a very strange story, because as far as I'm aware now, some of the original founders have lost power within the company and they've left. Bernie Burns, who was a huge part of the company, I believe has now left Rooster Teeth.
He left Rooster Teeth.
Same with Joel Heyman, the voice of Caboose. And it's certainly very strange, since these are some of the founders. And Joel Heyman is now, I think that might be more due to his politics, because he doesn't have politics which specifically agree with everyone else.
That's the thing. We don't have the companies, but we do still have the people.
Yep. All you got to do is get that momentum going.
You got to get them together.
Content.
Yep.
But
communities like Comicsgate, Comicsgate is an example of what we need.
And what I just have to say is, it starts with you. That's all.
Yeah. What if we get these production companies to go to tie in with a lot of these Comicsgaters? Because there's a lot of IPs coming, new IPs coming from Comicsgate. It's likely to be share diversity. We can get like a Cyberfrog short film, a Jawbreaker short film.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting, and that will start a whole new movement from the seeds of another movement. I think that'd be very, very interesting, and we'll see what happens. Hey, Barry Ben, please let's hear what you have to say of Gawain Saga, an unoriginal series by GeoX. I've not heard of that one yet, but
never heard of it. Yeah,
let's check it out though. But at the moment, let's finally see what the Doomcock has to say with the Secret Plan to Save Star Wars, and then we'll go ahead and shut down the stream, because we need to get going, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The most chance of being genuine to you on an as-is basis. But that said, I cannot independently verify this information, so please take all of this as unsubstantiated and take it with a grain of salt. So my source, who is currently working with a number of people who I will collectively refer to as the team, relates that this story began when the team was being introduced to a number of potential news sources close to the situation inside Lucasfilm or Disney. One topic of conversation that kept coming up was the sorry degraded state of Star Wars. How much damage had been done to the franchise, how many fans had been lost, how badly Star Wars canon had been trashed. One of the news sources during this period shrugged and made an offhand comment that didn't really register as all that significant at the time, saying, all hope isn't lost, Lucasfilm has a way out, there's always the veil. This comment kind of got lost in the shuffle of the conversation, as my source didn't know what that was, what was meant by the veil, and so my source let that comment go without any questions, and kind of forgot about it. The second time my source heard about this was in a conversation with one of the new insiders who commented that Lucasfilm can hit the reset button and fix everything. At this point, my source asked, what reset button? And the insider responded again, the veil, which finally led my source to ask, what is the veil? The insider replied, the veil of the Force. Haven't you guys seen Star Wars Rebels? No one on my source's team had bothered to watch Rebels, and so the insider explained. In episode 13 of season 4 of Star Wars Rebels, in an episode titled A World Between Worlds, they introduced the idea of the Veil of the Force. The Veil of the Force is a mystical dimension of the Force that connects all of time and space. Inside the veil, you see flashbacks of past events and events that have yet.
So yeah, the world between worlds it's very weird and it's not quite known. It's not exactly a time machine, but it's a place that exists outside of time and space. It's a bit
That's
weird.
weird. Is that how they saved Ahsoka Tano from death?
Yes, it is. He physically pulled Ahsoka out of time and space and then put her back exactly back where she was before.
I think they're going a little crazy with this stuff.
Wait, this is. I'm kind of interested to see where this is going though. Like this was some kind of full black plan to reset everything.
Let's check it out then.
To occur. This veil apparently could be used to fix Star Wars, although this particular insider declined to go into details regarding how exactly this could be used to save Star Wars. Well, as so often happens in life, the third time was the charm. During another encounter with another insider, this insider revealed the secret plan to save Star Wars. He or she alleged that the Veil of the Force was going to be used to make the entire sequel trilogy an alternate timeline and reclassify the sequels as Star Wars Legends.
There you go.
Now that got my source's attention.
That's interesting.
Didn't I just say that?
That's interesting.
Making it a different timeline.
They're going to make like a Kelvin sort of timeline.
Yeah, thank you. I knew you were going to say that. It's JJ. He's going to do the same thing over and over again.
It's like what JJ done. Well, JJ,
it's an alternate dimension.
So
your work is now going to be shoved over here. I mean, it's still there, but it's not
JJ timeline. And
anymore.
here's the real timeline. Here's the one we could take seriously, and then over here is JJ's timeline.
Hey JJ, what are you doing with this lost thing? Is it an alternate dimension or something? Hey JJ, what are you doing with this fringe thing? Is it an alternate dimension or something? Hey Star Trek, JJ, is it alternate dimension?
I like how everything JJ does is so over the top and ludicrous that it always has to be classified as an alternate.
How the fuck does JJ have a job? That's what I want to know. Who fucking pays? Who looks at this guy and think, yes, he's the man for our Star Trek. He's the man for our.
He's a mystery box that looks like Steven Spielberg.
The mystery box guy.
That's
it sounds so cool.
It's very cool.
Anakin, you should try Death Sticks.
Very cool, Anakin.
You should try Death Sticks.
Well, I think that's a really interesting plan. They're going to use this Veil of the Force.
Well, but was this like the plan from the very start? Do you think?
I don't think so. I highly doubt.
Like that would mean they've been planning this for like 5 years or something. Well, no, we're not 5 years. Probably more 3.
To kind of decanonize their own sequel trilogy. I don't think so.
Maybe actually, fuck, I've forgotten when this episode itself came out. But this would have been quite a while. This would be sort of like after The Last Jedi, but before Rise of Skywalker, before Han Solo as well.
The one thing, Tanya, they'll need to. So they'll actually pull your in the Rise of Skywalker. Luke wakes up at the ending, realizing it was all a terrible nightmare.
Yes,
so.
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah,
I really would like
it's going to happen.
That'd be
he
so
wakes
off.
up next to a beautiful Mara Jade, and fucking like he says, kids run into the room and like they all jump on the bed, and he hugs them all.
It's Life Day
and
morning.
it's like, God, it's Life Day.
And then the Lord of the Rings
Can we
theme
open our
starts playing.
That'd
presents?
be awesome. That'd be perfect.
Oh,
You
God.
know,
That's
the actual.
terrible.
I remember on Star Wars Galaxies there was a special event for Life Day, and it was honestly like so great. It was like one of my like Star Wars Christmas is fucking fantastic. Like it's not something to do well in like a serious capacity, but when it comes to like video games and stuff, it actually works quite well. Like just for events.
This would be great though.
Because everyone's hanging out in the cantina.
Yeah, everyone's hanging out. Like this, all these special things are going on. It's like the Q Winter Wonderland from Star Trek Online. It's something which you don't. It's not really that serious, but it's still quite fun and enjoyable.
See, Matthew Jim Nimnall. So, expanded universe is non-canon in an alternate Star Wars universe. Neat. Yeah. So that, I think that, maybe that was actually a hint. Like it's non-canon, but it still exists, like the legends. So maybe they made this alternate dimension. And you can just, I don't know, stuff the JJ stuff in there, like all the stuff that Star Wars fans loves can be in one dimension, and Disney version can be like a whole new dimension.
I really hate the way they teased like Legends as well. Like they keep saying there's some truth in Legends. Like, oh, well, it's obviously not if you're just decanonizing it. There's obviously no truth in it.
Especially if it's if it starts contradicting some of the stuff that is canon. It is considered canon.
Yeah.
Well, the way I like to think of it myself is that it's canon as long as it's not contradicted, and then it's no longer canon.
Yeah, that's why they're trying to decanonize the Plagueis novel. But anyway, I think it's the heart of what Doomcock was trying to say. With it's trying to make this like a maybe they're going to have a alternate dimension for J.J. Abrams' nonsense, and then the rest of us can continue liking the original universe because I think they saw the sequel trilogy and said, "Oh, this killed Star Wars. Maybe we should just make this non-canon now."
Yep,
that'll work. But,
whoopsie.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and close the stream here. That was a little.
5 minutes. I kind of want to see.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and we'll continue for a while longer.
My source began to dig deeper. Eventually, this confirmation was provided by someone deep inside the organization who alleged that indeed there is a plan to fix Star Wars using the Veil of the Force. I am informed this insider revealed that yes, this plan is already in motion. The Star Wars sequel trilogy.
Hold on. Can you pause it a second? I want to look at a comment by Drake the Duelist here.
Is it that one? I encourage anybody in comment to read about the video game crash of '83, AT for the Atari, and the birth of Activision. You'll find parallels to now, The Last Jedi, and the birth of Comscape. Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about the video game crash, but I have heard of it. I don't know the details, but I have heard of it.
Yeah, I know certain details.
I'd love to hear more about the behind the scenes stuff and the money stuff, because all I know is about the myth of it. You know, I don't know. I'd love to hear about if like somebody wasn't getting paid enough or something.
The obvious basic idea is that companies believe that you could just throw anything out and anyone would just, they would just enjoy it. So it became very lazy. And E.T. for the Atari was a very well-renowned thing because, E.T., they were going to sell this game purely based on the fact that it was based on a popular film. But it was that they put huge investments into it. But then a lot of the games ended up going to landfills because they just couldn't sell because the game was just that atrocious.
Here's the question. Were there any E.T. defenders? I don't think there were.
Well, if they were, then they probably got lost to time.
And plus, there was no internet back then.
And
there are some fundamental factors that we got to take into consideration that make this different from back then.
Yeah.
Well, it's still a good thing to think about, though.
Actually.
Oh yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, let's go on.
Be eliminated from canon in that way. So think about what that means. If this is true, no more amazing Wonder Ray. Han didn't walk into a maniac's lightsaber like an idiot. Wasn't a deadbeat dad. Didn't forget where he parked the Falcon for 30 years. Luke wasn't a cowardly milk-sucking surrender monkey. Leia didn't fly through space unconscious. Palpatine wasn't Rey's granddaddy and doesn't win at the end by having his spawn take control of Luke Skywalker's lands, lightsaber, and name. Quite simply, by having the sequel trilogy publicly relegated to its own timeline, in effect disavowed officially as canon, turned into an Elseworld story, a Star Wars legend, it would at least be a nod to the fandom and, depending on how it was presented, an official apology to fans. This is a huge deal, if true. But naturally, there is at least one faction inside Lucasfilm that reportedly hates this idea and is fighting it every step of the way. An insider has revealed to my source that Kathleen Kennedy knows about this plan and is doing all she can to stop it. In essence, this plan is a complete repudiation of everything Kennedy has done at Lucasfilm. It undermines, if not utterly destroys, Kennedy's feminist forward agenda, turning Rey from the bestest ever into a footnote. A fake campfire story in a universe of possible Star Wars stories, in essence, wadding up Kennedy's work and tossing it in the trash where it belongs.
Also, doing exactly what happened to Star Wars Legends.
Yeah, how they made it non-canon. Now your stuff.
Yeah, they made the best shit non-canon.
How does it make you feel when we do it to you? Like, hey, these films? It's like a cat that's knocking over something off the table. It's like, you like these films? Knock. You like these films? Smash.
So far, what we've seen so far, not just this, but I mean, like with the Mandalorian, where we heard about how Filoni says, I'm not gonna hire a female director. I'm gonna hire Favreau instead.
No, Favreau hired Filoni.
Yeah, Favreau hired Filoni, and then to go on, it was not a male Yoda. It was not a female Yoda. It was a male Yoda. They made it at least they didn't hype on the fact that it was a female Yoda. So we don't know the gender specifically yet.
No, we do know the gender of the baby Yoda.
Oh, so we do.
The scientist who was studying him said specifically a he.
Oh, good.
So this scientist, I assume, would know the gender of the little baby Yoda.
So we are seeing that we're getting hints that what Doomcock is saying is true, that Kathleen Kennedy is losing her grasp on Lucasfilm, and that even though they're trying to prop her up, they're giving her awards and contract extensions and all that stuff, that she's slowly and gradually losing control over Star Wars film to fans.
Here's one thing I'm curious about.
We know Bob Iger will be operational.
We know, for example, that Bob Iger was trying to slowly and quietly remove Kathleen Kennedy from the power that she has in that position, and we know that she then leaked this new show to try and force his hand. But again, what I would have just done in Bob Iger's place is that I would have reworked. I've got someone I trusted who was a female to remake the show, who I knew could write quality. I would still keep the whole progressive side of the casting, but actually write a competent story. Because the problem is, it's not it's not the gender or the race behind the story. The problem is just making a good story. Period.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of women out there who can write an excellent Star Wars story. They seem to get one who's not driven by activism.
With me, the progressive casting means nothing to me. I could go either way. I could care less. It's not even a factor for me.
I don't even know what that means. You're
Just
either
means having less white
according
guys.
to I believe in one principle. If somebody wants to write a movie and somebody wants to cast a movie a certain way, they're fully entitled to do that because it's their movie.
And see, Nova Zero, Commercial 2. My legend is better than your legends. Go away, KK. Our
It's
legend is better
true,
than your
though.
legend. It's way better than your
Very
legend, KK.
true.
Oh my god, this is almost, in fact, the remember on the other streams I was talking about an idea I had for a quick and fun animation where Doc Brown from Back to the Future goes to Luke. It's like, Luke, you gotta do something about your kids, Luke. It's like, what? It's like, you try to kill your kids. Oh my god, that sounds terrible.
It's very true.
It'd be perfect. Yeah, because KK's legends are just cardboard boxes tied together with string compared to the actual legends, which are just well, I don't know. I haven't read them, but I'm pretty sure they're a lot better than what hers have been.
It's like a buffet, and some of the things you don't really like, but it has all the stuff that you like.
Yeah, but apparently legends don't exist because, as Kathleen Kennedy said, we don't have any books or anything to go from.
I just okay.
Yeah, it's like when remaking the sequel trilogy, it's like, oh, we don't have any source material. Do we, Kathleen? And Kathleen's just stuck there, like with her hands tied behind her back, fucking gag in her mouth. It's like, yeah, we don't have any source material. Looks at the camera.
Except everything.
Belongs. Kennedy hates this idea with a passion. This is a slap in the face that she will not tolerate if she has anything to say about it. But according to rumors I'm hearing, she may not be able to stop it, as her tenure at Lucasfilm may be growing short. But I'll report on that in a future video. If this information is correct, and again, absent independent verification, I can only present all of this as rumor. It looks like Lucasfilm may do to Star Wars what Marvel did to the MCU in Infinity War Endgame. Use a multiverse approach to fix their fictional universe, keeping what they want and discarding the rest. Using the veil of the Force, everything that ruined Star Wars could be undone. Some in Lucasfilm are clinging to this like a lifeline as they move to render the damage Kennedy did moot, while those in the Kennedy camp hate this idea with a furious fury that's infuriating. Only time will tell which side will prevail. But if this information is valid, it appears that our cries of despair have been heard inside Lucasfilm, and there are those who are trying to do something about it. I don't know about you, but the idea that I might be able to start living in a universe where The Last Jedi is classified as apocryphal and dismissed to the rubbish heap of failed ideas is a universe that suddenly seems a lot brighter, with cleaner air and a newfound spring in the step of every single fan who has been weighted down by the oppression of these canon violations and this slap in the face to everyone who has ever loved that galaxy far, far away.
Stay angry, my friends.
Yes.
Well, rebellions are built on hope.
That's perfect. I really
I'm
hope
going to destroy this woman's entire career.
I really hope this whole thing pans out. That they're actually going to. It seems too good to be true at the moment, but I don't
agree.
know. It's possible. We see some hope here, and rebellions are built on hope, as Kathleen Kennedy has told us.
I just love that she's like the evil emperor. It's fantastic.
She is. It's like a Game of Thrones. If you heard all of the descriptions, it's like Game of Thrones. She's the evil. She's Cersei. George Lucas is basically Daenerys because he's like actually scheming something over there at Skywalker Ranch, according to sources. And then you have Filoni and Favreau, another faction. They're like a Stannis or something. So.
Can you imagine? George Lucas is actually like, yeah, all right, I'll make episode 7, 8, and 9. Fine.
Like on his own time and stuff. His
He
own
just does
resources.
They just don't tell Kathleen until the
I
day
think this
she's
is the
kicked
one
out.
time I would be like, you know what? Let's do time travel. Let's undo this.
I don't like I like
Mark,
the veil
something's got to be done about Lucasfilm.
but it's
Hold
the
on,
only
Lucas.
it's the only gimmick they got. That's all they got. Alternate universe.
one
That's
out.
the only way out.
J.J. Abrams
Lucas,
is always really...
company, Lucas. Something's got to be done about your company.
What happened? I was like the fact.
What does my company become? A-holes or something? Yes.
I was like the fact. That,
Although, you know what?
like you
You know
mentioned.
what else could work? Another possibility. I don't like it just because of the point. But in terms of how it would be received, I would like the temptation of Lucas doing 7, 8, and 9.
Ooh, that's a risk. That's a
Well,
real
hold on, wait.
gamble.
Well, hold on. But he said he does whatever he wants, and then he just shrugs and says, "This is my alternate timeline."
Yeah,
Like he bites the bullet. He says, "No, mine is just the fan fiction." And then it's like the little wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like we all know this is the real thing.
And then they get praised like the real sequels.
The problem,
Yeah, exactly.
that obviously you can no longer have characters like Leia because of the characters dying, and the problem is we need to make sure that George Lucas is complemented with competent writers and competent directors, because I'm fine with the George Lucas creating the ideas behind the story and maybe directing the overall story itself, but someone needs to do the character dialogue. Someone needs to actually direct the actors.
Otherwise, we'll just hit another prequel situation.
Yeah, because you'll
Where
have
it's an
the
improvement,
prequels with some,
but it's still not the original.
you'll have prequels with great ideas and so much potential which could outshine the original trilogy, but it ends up falling flat for poor dialogue and extremely poor execution in general.
Yeah.
I reckon George Lucas's ideas could be some fantastic ideas. They
But see,
just
then
need
he could do
to be
whatever he
executed
wants.
fantastically.
He could
No,
just
but
bite the bullet, shrug, and
he
say,
al-
"This
he-
is an alternate timeline. Don't worry about it." And
but
it's like we
he-
all know this is him. Like this is the
But
real
he
thing.
also did, he did the prequels with no control and outside elements, and we know how they went.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
It's
Shane.
still his thing, though.
Yeah,
You could do some low budget films like this. I know he's a billionaire or whatever. What doesn't mean he can make a whole awesome trilogy on his own, with the visual effects and everything. But what he could do was do some low budget films that go back to the roots and have come from the same idea as original trilogy, how that was made. And I think that work out pretty well.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we're at 3.5 hour mark. We started 30 minutes late because of internet issues. So thank you everyone for joining us. I'm going to have to cut the stream off here. Thank you everyone for chat for joining us. Thank you very much for sticking with us through all of this. And thank you, Shiny. Thank you, Angel/Demon of Thy Sword, and Ancient Yokai. And thank you, Glib. Appreciate you all being here. Thank you, Voice in the Radio. I know he had to leave a little bit earlier.
Just call me whatever you want, Devil. Don't worry about it.
I like Yokai.
Yeah, it sounds cool. It sounds cool, Anakin.
It's very cool.
But I'm going to go ahead and cut the stream off here. So everyone, thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And I will see you all, of course, next time.